The last time the St. Louis Cardinals came to Shea Stadium, the result was heartbreak for the New York Mets. Now, for the first time since that October night, the Cardinals are back at Shea. Summer has arrived in New York, and with it hazy, hot conditions. 2 weeks to go until the All-Star break, and the Mets have gained themselves some momentum after their weekend sweep of the Oakland Athletics. Happy birthday wishes to Carlos Delgado, 35 today, as the St. Louis Cardinals and Albert Pujols come to town as the world champions after having defeated the Mets in the LCS last year. Tony La Russa leads his stumbling and injured Cardinals into Shea for the first of 4 games as the Mets take on the Cardinals at Shea Stadium. This Mets game on SNY is presented in high definition by IO Digital Cable, the leader in HD. Do you see in HD? And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Shea Stadium. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, and yes, Keith Hernandez is back as the Mets and Cardinals open a 4-game series. The big news for the Mets today, Paul Lo Duca suspended 2 games for his outburst on Saturday night. Lo Duca is appealing the suspension. He will play tonight. We'll talk more about that later on. You've had a chance to look at the Mets from afar for the last week. They got beaten 2 out of 3 by the Twins. They swept the A's over the weekend. What caught your eye?
Well, I think outside of Tom Glavine, I think he's lost a step. I think the Mets are kind of maybe turned the corner. They know the Oakland A's aren't a lower division ball club, and they swept them. They swung the bats good, and you got to beat up on teams that are down. I think that they're starting to hit. Reyes obviously has just been solid from day one. The bullpen's starting to come around. Mota, I think, is pitching much better. He's critical. So this is very important right here to catch this Cardinal team that is down right now with 8 guys on the disabled list, 8 critical guys, and a 4-game set here before they go to Philly.
Well, you'd love for them to be a lot of juice coming into this series with the defending world champions coming in, but Ronnie, it is a very different team right now, starting with Chris Carpenter going down right after opening day. They've been dropping like flies.
Yeah, they've really missed their ace, and like Keith said, 8 people on the disabled list. They have gotten off to that really horrible start, but since May 22nd, they're 17-14, and they have 19 of the 33 wins out of the Central. So once they get healthy, start playing that Central again, that's pretty weak. They got a chance to really roll.
And of course, there's nobody going well in that division except for the Milwaukee Brewers. So the Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals open a 4-game series. Jorge Sosa pitches tonight for the Mets. Mike Maroth makes his first start for the Cardinals. All the action coming up. Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Barbados, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. Experience the authentic Caribbean. By Aflac, ask about it at work. By Acura, advance. By Ford and your tri-state Ford dealers. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by IO Digital Cable, the leaders in HD and presenting sponsor of the Mets in high definition. Do you see in HD? Mike Maroth, just acquired by the Cardinals for their pitching strapped staff, will make his debut for St. Louis. The former Cardinal Jorge Sosa trying to bounce back from a couple of off efforts. First pitch coming right up from Shea. Mets and Cardinals here at Shea. Here's your St. Louis lineup, brought to you by Ford. Jim Edmonds out, David Eckstein out, Yadier Molina out. So you get So Taguchi, you get Aaron Miles, you get Gary Bennett, and you get Albert Pujols, who has picked it up after a slow start. Still not quite Albert-like numbers yet, with 2 weeks to go till the All-Star break.
Well, Jorge Sosa pitching for the Mets in his 6 wins. He's been fantastic. 40 in the 3rd innings, only 8 earned runs. It's those 3 losses that he has really struggled. 13 innings pitched, 18 earned runs.
Ronnie, I'll take it. I'm back here. The Lexus defense for the Mets is Delgado, Valentin, Reyes, Wright, La Duca, Beltran, Green in the outfield, and Gomez, who's kind of come on here a little bit now. For the Mets offensively, he's out in left field.
By the way, we're not letting you go anytime soon.
You have me for a we'll see how you all feel about me in around 17 days.
So Taguchi leading things off. Taguchi's riding a 16-game hitting streak, playing every day right now in the absence of Jim Edmonds, who has multiple ailments. And Sosa's first pitch in for a strike, and we're underway at Shea. Sosa got beat up by the Twins in his last outing, lasted just 3 1/3, giving up 7 runs and 8 hits. And Taguchi fouls it away, 0-2. Met fans will remember So Taguchi from Game 2 of the NLCS last year in his go-ahead home run off Billy Wagner in the 9th inning. Aaron Miles waiting on deck. That game was really the turning point in that series, that Game 2, when it looked like the Mets were going to go up 2 games to none. Slider misses, and it's 1-2.
And it's always the guy you least expect to do something in a playoff situation. And it reminds me of the great series that Gene Tennis had in the World Series against the Reds.
The slider popped foul. And there is Taguchi in Game 2, 9th inning, shocking the Mets. I mean, the guys who hit the 2 biggest home runs for the Cardinals in that series were Taguchi and, of course, Yadier Molina. And neither one was the guy you expected to beat you in those spots. In the air foul, and Taguchi making Sosa work.
Isn't that always the case, though, in World Series and playoff games? You get names like Denny Doyle and Mark Lemke, and you know, nothing is expected of them. They play their regular game, as opposed to some of the big hitters tend to press a little bit because, well, there's a lot that's expected of them during those playoffs.
Sosa ahead 1-2. Comes up and in with the fastball.
Well, even that 69 Mets, who Al Weiss had a great World Series. Swoboda makes the great catch, who was not known for his glove.
Your team in '82, John Stuper threw a shutout.
Yes, he did. 1 run.
Slider misses, and it's 3-2 to Taguchi.
We were down a Game 6. We were down 3 games to 2. They had Don Sutton, Hall of Famer, going against us. You look at this slider, just missed. And Stuper outpitched. We knocked Sutton out in the 5th inning.
Quite an opening at bat for Taguchi, but he takes the slider in there for a call, 3rd strike. Well, it took him 8 pitches to get him, but Sosa fans Taguchi to start the game.
Well, just a perfect slider here on the outside corner. Too close to take for Taguchi. It's the pad there of Paul LaDuca. Yeah, it hit the front of that plate.
That's a strike.
So Taguchi down. And now Sosa will face Aaron Miles, who's filling in at short these days with David Eckstein on the sideline. And he pulls it over the bag, knocked down by Delgado. Valentin scrambles after him, but the flip is too late. And Miles is aboard with an infield hit. A good effort by Delgado to keep it from going down the line.
Well, he gets a glove on it here, playing a little bit in, kind of in nowhere's land. I think if you're going to play the bunt, either you come in on the grass or you play back, one of the two. And that might have been the difference in him getting this ball, but still a nice play, knocking it down. He saves the double.
So Delgado gets his uniform dirty on his 35th birthday after getting the day off yesterday. And here comes Pujols. Remember, the Mets swept the Cardinals in St. Louis to open the season, and one of the reasons they did is they did a terrific job holding Pujols in check. And it began a rather troubled first month for Pujols, who only now is getting his numbers back to where they belong. And Sosa misses with the fastball.
Well, he hasn't got anybody protecting him behind. Roland's on the bench tonight. And, of course, with Edmonds on the DL, they say he's been maybe at times trying to do too much. They're not pitching to him. I don't blame him. I wouldn't pitch to him neither.
Well, he's drawn 42 walks, but you expect that as he takes a slider for a strike.
Which happens to be the same number that Jose Reyes has. Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Sosa pitches Pujols tonight, because you have to pitch him inside. He can't let him extend those arms, and Sosa does not pitch right-handers inside.
Well, Sosa, we know, loves his slider.
And he throws the the slider and gets a double play grounder. Reyes to Valentin, and on the first double play side retired. 6-4-3 on the double play. Big pitch for Sosa as he gets Pujols to roll out on the slider and get through the opening inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first, and here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Jose Valentin gets the #2 slot, which has been rotating all year. Only the third time he's hit second. Paul LaDuca dropped to the 6th hole to face Mike Maroth, making his Cardinals debut.
9-star overall, and you can see that Mike Maroth lost 21 games in 2003. Last player to do that before Maroth was Brian Kingman with the 1980 Oakland Athletics.
And he didn't get the payback last year that he would have liked as Reyes rips one foul down the left field line. Reyes jumping on the first pitch and trying to get the Mets off to a fast start like he did yesterday. And yesterday he hit to right field where the weakest fielder, Jack Cust, was playing. Here he hit one in the direction of Chris Duncan, who is the Cardinals' weakest outfielder. And he bounces that one foul. But, you know, Maroth went through the bad years with the Tigers. Lost the 21 games. Last year, finally ready to ride the wave back to the postseason in the World Series, and he got hurt.
Yeah, he had to get the bone chips taken out of his elbow. Had that done in June.
Reyes swinging at 3 pitches in a row, and he pops it up. Miles, the shortstop, and Spezio looking at each other. Miles finally makes the grab. A little confusion there.
Well, someone has got to take charge here. And it's either one's ball.
The second baseman.
Spezio wants nothing to do with it. So Miles finally realized that and makes the play. Now he's basically a second baseman, Miles, as you see the Rico Cardinal defense. Pujols, of course, at first. Kennedy, who's had a tough year, coming over from the Angels at second base. Miles at short. Spezio at third. Duncan, Taguchi, and Encarnacion.
Valentin hit a home run yesterday, and he hit it batting right-handed, something he doesn't do particularly often. And now facing another soft tossing lefty. Takes it to third, 1-1. This is our Coors Cold Blast from yesterday. Mets were up 5-2, and Valentin put it away with his 3-run homer off the side armor.
Well, it was a big day for Jose, a 3-hit day.
And he's got his average up to 287 now. 2-1 to Jose, who has faced Maroth a bit and not done well against him. Just 1 for 12 against Maroth. Like Maroth, not a hard thrower.
Well, he's 5-2 on the year with Detroit. And if it's any consolation, in his 8 starts on the road, he was 5-0 with the Tigers, but the ERA was over 5.
Oh, and his other numbers are just, they're flat out ugly.
Yeah.
Valentin takes a strike.
Sometimes your best pitch is your offense. Right?
I've never heard it put that way before. You're right.
Last man before Maroth to lose 20 was Brian Kingman with Oakland in 1980. And Valentin draws a 1-out walk. And that really is where Maroth has gone wrong, isn't it? He used to be a terrific control pitcher, but his walks are way up.
Walks are up because he's the kind of guy that's always going to give up a lot of hits. He's had years where he's given up 240 hits, 240 plus. So one of the things that he does well is he fields his position well, and he also is very good at keeping the running game in check. Since 2002, he's had 29 pickoffs.
And the Cardinals really need that right now, because without Yadier Molina behind the plate, teams have been running wild against St. Louis.
Boy, have they ever.
Beltran pulls one foul, and the Mets are up there hacking against Maroth.
Have you seen the numbers on the stolen bases? Kelly Stinnett has only thrown out 1 of 6, and Gary Bennett 1 of 18, 5%. Well, it's just not very good.
Yadier Molina has the broken left wrist, and he is here with the Cardinals. He's been working out. They were not expecting to activate him until at least next weekend, but they're giving some thought to activating him in this series only because of the Mets running game. The slider misses 1-1 to Beltran.
No, it is though, guys. I think that the pitchers are just getting worse at holding runners close. They're not varying their times. They're not working on their moves. Jason Kendall for the Athletics has always been a pretty good defensive catcher. Coming into yesterday's game, he had thrown out 8 out of 56. That's 13%. Just awful numbers.
Valentine no threat to go with that brace on his right knee. Beltran fouls off the changeup, and it's 1-2. Carlos has all of a sudden gotten into a little bit of a hot streak. 8 hits in his last 4 games. As David Wright waits to follow.
Well, he's hitting better against right-handers, left-handers, excuse me, this year, batting from the right side of the plate. He's got hitting .291 as opposed to .269 against the lefties. Pretty close to the plate there, open stance.
Valentine back. Well, the Mets early in the season were getting incredible numbers against lefties. Then they lost 8 games in a row that lefties started against them until this last weekend.
Well, they're 13-11 now on the year, and was a lot better a few weeks ago.
Carlos, you're in a movie. Pulled foul, and Sandy Alomar had to do some quick work to get out of the way. He may have to back up a little bit. Remember where Rene Lachemann used to stand when Mark McGwire used to come to bat?
Yeah, he's all the way up in the outfield. Well, they should. I mean, they have an advantage tonight against Marat. They've faced 2 of the last 3 days. Here's where Sandy's standing outside of the box. Faced DiNardo and Kennedy, both crafty left-handers.
Still 1-2 on Beltran. Well, the Mets are waiting to get Moises Alou back, and that will certainly solidify their lineup against lefties and really against everybody.
Against everybody. He's really been missed in this lineup.
But the last few days have certainly been encouraging as far as the Mets stringing hits together and getting hits with runners in scoring position.
And you know, and during that time too, Gary, Jose Valentin was out, and you know, he's one of those guys that are under the radar screen. He's just so important to this ball club, to the success of this club, both offensively and defensively. He's such an all-around player.
1-2 to Beltran, and Valentin gets picked off. And the tag applied by Kennedy. Well, that's one that really makes you scratch your head, because Jose Valentin isn't going anywhere.
And he's such a heads-up player. Very surprising that this would happen to him.
Well, he almost got Pujols picked off too. He's got a real fine move. I think this is his first good one over there. And you're right, it's just very un-Valentin-like to get caught there, but it happens.
So now 2 out and nobody on. 1-2 to Beltran. And the curveball popped up. And Kennedy retreating, has the play. And the side retired. So Valentin gets picked off. That stems the Mets' hopes. We go to the second with no score. Weekday afternoons between 4 and 6. Log on to CW11.com for live traffic updates from the CW11's Commuter Cast. Check with Commuter Cast before you hit the road to find the fastest way home or the easiest way to Shea. These moms love their nights out. And where are the kids?
Camp.
That's true. Could be. You got the husband off the hook there.
We're heading into that season, aren't we? All the kids are going away. Scott Spiezio leads off the second inning. Spiezio playing third base tonight. Scott Rowland fouled the ball off his foot yesterday. Had to leave the game and held out of the lineup tonight. And Spiezio lays off the high fastball, 1-0. Spiezio's been filling in a little bit everywhere for the Cardinals. He's been playing some second base the last few days.
Well, he's been hot. They've been trying to get him in the lineup.
Well, no problem getting anybody in the lineup for the Cardinals now if they're healthy. Gosh, they're missing half their regulars.
Yeah, it's just incredible. It's just what a difference a year makes. And you look at Tony La Russa there, how difficult it is to repeat.
Well, if you're going to repeat, it's a good idea to be in as dreadful a division as the Cardinals are in.
Ooh.
Spiezio a little late, 1-2.
Wow. I was talking to La Russa, and he was talking about, as you see this good, it's a fastball here by Sosa. He's got a little better giddy up tonight, Jorge Sosa.
It's not like he's throwing hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, remember, he's facing the team that he pitched for last year after being traded by the Braves, and he gets it over for a call third strike. Spiezio down looking, second strikeout for Sosa, and Jorge may feel he's got a little extra juice tonight as he did earlier against the Braves.
Well, this is backdoor slider. Perfect pitch right on the corner. Hit LaDuca right in the middle. His chest protector.
Well, it certainly has not been a good year for the Redbirds in so many respects, between Tony La Russa being arrested and Josh Hancock dying in a car accident, and their ace Carpenter out with an injury most of the season. They're hoping to have him back, but the Cardinals, what's interesting is they're third from the bottom in runs scored. They're last in ERA, and yet they're only 6 games under 500, which is pretty good when you consider their other numbers and everything else that's gone wrong for them. Chris Duncan's been a red-hot hitter over the last 9 games, hitting .458 with 15 RBIs.
Well, Duncan's a big, strong kid, and of his 14 home runs, 13 are against right-handers, but he's big and tall and strong like his dad.
Dad should have made him a catcher. There's a strike, 3-1.
Well, that was that catching tandem that the Oakland A's, those great Oakland A's teams had with Gene Tenace. As you look at Juan Encarnacion in the on-deck circle, you had Gene Tenace and Dave Duncan, and Tenace was more of the offensive part of that catching duo, and Dave Duncan right there was great defensive catcher.
Fastball, and it missed. Ball 4. And the Cardinals have a 1-out base runner. First walk given up by Sosa, who thought he had thrown a strike.
Fastball behind in the count.
Juan Encarnacion.
A good pitch right there.
Well, Sosa has to be careful of, and Gary, you asked me earlier what I was observing, and I watched every inning of your guys' wonderful broadcasts, is that Sosa's slider kind of flattens out sometimes. He gets it up. He comes too sidearm, Ronnie, doesn't go over the top enough.
Yeah,
he loses that down break.
You can see it happen late in the game too. He had a really good outing in Dodger Stadium for first 4 innings, and then just kind of lost it. See, that one is kind of, it's sliding, but it's kind of fading to the outside. He has, when he's throwing it good, it looks like a fastball coming out of his hand, and then just takes a little tiny slide away from the right-handed hitter.
Encarnacion spent the first 6 weeks of the year on the disabled list, coming off off-season wrist surgery. And so the Mets didn't see him when they played the Cardinals back in April.
He's been a funny player throughout his career. He's got a world of talent. He strikes out a lot. He's just a streaky hitter and has never really been able to live up to his potential. He's had an okay career.
Pops up the fastball, and Beltran with plenty of time to get in under it. And that's the second out as Duncan goes back to first. So 2 away. Well, Sosa has been incredibly successful in his victories, but in his 3 losses he has been hit very hard. The first one in Atlanta.
I think the big difference too is that when his good games, when he has people on base, he's always been able to make that pitch. He really struggled in those 3 starts when he had runners on base.
Here's Adam Kennedy hitting 7th in the order, hitting just .207. He takes ball 1. Kennedy returning to the Cardinals, with whom he started his career, and it has not gone well.
And boy, I tell you, when you come to a new ball club, it adds a little bit of different pressure because you're coming here with expectations, and if you get off to a bad start, big tendency to press.
I think what happens too is that you can fall in love with the player that you used to have, as you see the release from Sosa of that slider down and in. You can fall in love with that player that you had, then you send him off somewhere and you think you can get the same player back. He might not be that player anymore.
Well, he certainly enjoyed a lot of success in his days with the Angels as he fouls this one off. He won a World Series with them in 2002, had a 3 home run game in the playoffs that year. But it may be that Kennedy's skills have just deteriorated at this point. I'm not sure.
Or it could be that he's in a new league and new pitchers.
Yeah.
You got to find out. You know, the book's not closed on him until if he has a bad year this year, to see what happens next year if he stays in the league, if he makes the adjustments.
1-2 to Kennedy. Fastball misses high. 2-2. Gary Bennett hoping for a turn on deck. Duncan at first and 2 down. Kennedy wastes one.
Pretty much straight away. The Met defense.
Kennedy lifts one to center. Beltran moving back. And the side retired. Joe Sosa using the big part of the ballpark. Paul LaDuca will be up to bat for the Mets when they come up in the bottom of the second. It's been an entertaining day for him. Ready for your Mets 15 seconds of fame. Make your own Your Season Has Come TV commercial, and it could air during a Mets game on SNY. Go to Mets.com for details today. David Wright leads off the home second. David had himself a 17-game hitting streak. Failed to hit in one game, and now he's hit in 6 games after that. So that's 23 out of 24. Starts him off with a strike.
I read the article in the paper a couple days ago that David said that he really hasn't been locked in, and I have to agree. He said he feels good one game or one at bat, but just can't put together a streak. And that's been his problem right there a lot, Gary, is lots of balls hit in the air.
2 holes, squeezes it, and Wright retired one away.
And you can see David right here. That stride just got beat there. He's been a little bit tardy all year long. No, he wasn't late there. He was, but you see the follow through and the big sweep up. That's an uppercut big time. And that's the difference between a line drive and a pop up or a fly ball.
So one away, and here is the birthday boy, Carlos Delgado. Not the only Met celebrating a birthday today. Aaron Seeley turns 37 today. Delgado turns 35.
Well, Keith, I'm sure glad you're back, because that is the best description I've heard of right swing. It's a sweep.
Yep.
Here's Aaron Seeley. 1-1 to Delgado.
Well, I just think that David has always had, Gary, we've been here, and David's had a very short stroke, and really with more power. He's got 12 home runs this year, but power numbers are down altogether throughout baseball this year. But I just see a distinct difference in more of an uppercut, and particularly with the follow through. It's almost like a golf follow through almost.
Well, I think we've seen from really all the Met hitters so far tonight against Maroth, they're seeing that 85-mile-an-hour fastball, and they're just swinging out of their socks. Delgado dumps one into shallow left center, and the Mets have their first hit of the game. So Delgado aboard with a 1-out single. And here comes Paul LaDuca. If you were with us Saturday, or even if you weren't, you probably have seen this. LaDuca getting into it with Marvin Hudson. Getting tossed. And then the eyes. Those eyes. And then the shin guards. And all of that has earned LaDuca a 2-game suspension announced today by Major League Baseball. And you know, we kind of talked about it at the time that it happened, that LaDuca really needed to avoid getting suspended, because this is going to have an impact on the team beyond just LaDuca, as it would for any catcher rather than another position player or a pitcher. If he's going to miss 2 games, and he's going to appeal the suspension and try and get it down to 1, that's what Paul said today. Well, the Mets can't go into a game with only 1 catcher. No team can. And they don't have a legitimate emergency catcher who they can rely on, which means that when he serves the suspension, whenever that is, they're going to have to make a player move to bring up a catcher, and that's going to affect the rest of the team.
Player moves. Sometimes you have to make roster moves to facilitate that, and that's it's going to be tough for the Mets.
Particularly in light of the fact that this Friday the Mets have a day-night doubleheader in Philadelphia. They're going to need to bring up a pitcher, and presumably it's going to be Mike Pelfrey. if for some reason the suspension has to be served at the same time, it means you're going to have to make 2 roster moves, and that could really put a crimp in the Mets bench and their bullpen, just trying to figure out who to move around.
And you don't want him out during the Philly series. I think this is the team that you would want him to take his 2 days, and if he can, I'm sure he's going to try to speed the process along. If it doesn't happen, he's going to have to make a decision, or the Mets will make a decision to try to convince him. And it's more important that he plays in Philly. And I know that Paul says he doesn't want to miss the Philly series.
Well, here's what seems to make sense. Since they're going to have to make a move on Friday for Pelfrey, it would make sense for him to drop the appeal after tomorrow's game, sit out Wednesday and Thursday, let the Mets bring up a catcher. Then they can send that catcher down and bring up Pelfrey for Friday. And that way you only have to disrupt 1 player on your roster. But I don't know if Paul's going to want to do that or not.
Well, the whole thing is, and Paul recognizes that he lost his temper, and it happens. You know, if he doesn't throw his gear, his equipment, it's not a suspension at all. It's just a fine. So that just kind of increased the penalty.
Off the fist to third, Spezio with a low throw, dug out nicely by Kennedy, but he can't turn over the double play. Well, Kennedy saved Spezio an error with that pickup at second base. Now there are 2 out.
Well, he gets jammed here. A ball came up. He had a bad handle on it on the exchange. Nice play by Kennedy on the scoop. But he backed up on this ball. It's an in-between hop. And I can see him making the initial decision to back up because Leduca doesn't run well. It took kind of a funny hop here as you see the fastball in that completely ties up Leduca. So it just goes to show you kids out there, you don't have to throw 95 miles an hour to jam somebody.
Shawn Green hitting at 291 and takes a fastball for a strike. How tough is it for a second baseman with that little glove to pick a ball up like that?
Well, I think it's big. It's, to me, it's the footwork that gets thrown off, and the transfer, taking the glove out, the ball out of the glove. That's the most difficult thing. That was a short hop, and those are the easiest scoops, Gary. If it's the in-between hop, that's the tough one. You can see right here, it's a great angle. It's a short hop, so it's a real, you can almost pretty much have an idea it's not going to bounce high or low. It's going to be a true hop. If it's that ball that's 4 feet away from you, you don't know if it's going to scoot or take a high hop.
Green went around on the breaking ball, and it's 1-2.
But you saw he was already in position to make the throw behind the bag as Shawn Green here gets. Yeah, I guess he did.
You know, one of the things that Kennedy hustled over there. A lot of times, to a second baseman, you don't want to time getting to the base and getting the throw. You want to be waiting, so that way, if you do get a bad throw, you can make that adjustment.
Is it different for a second baseman taking a throw from a shortstop as opposed to a third baseman? Do you want to get there earlier for that longer throw?
Well, I think you have more time to get to the bag. If it's hit to the shortstop, the ball's hit. You know, it's a longer travel for the ball to the shortstop. But you know, that's why they shorten up and get closer to the bag in a double play depth so they can get there.
2-2 to Green, and he rolls over the breaking ball, and Kennedy makes the play, has a little trouble getting out of the glove, but the side retired. 1 hit and 1 left. We go to the third here at Shea. No score. Let's check out our Jeep around the majors. Dustin McGowan, a 1-hitter against the Colorado Rockies. 8 no-hit innings before it was broken up. Reds lose again, but Griffey hits 2 home runs to pass McGuire for 7th all-time, and Josh Beckett outpitches Jake Peavy. 11-1, beats 9-1.
Red Sox 48 wins now. Boy, on a roll. 12 over.
How about the
22 over? Sorry.
How about the Braves? Offense, my goodness.
1 run in the last 5 games.
Oh, that was a home run.
Here's Gary Bennett leading off the 3rd inning, and he rips it foul. It was Chipper Jones after his little dust up in the papers with John Smoltz, which I guess got smoothed out yesterday. Smoltz said, we need everybody in the lineup. The guys who are playing are doing fine. Kind of taking a dig at Chipper, who has had multiple injuries.
Let me tell you that John Smoltz is a fantastic pitcher.
Smashed to short, and Reyes nicely to his left. Bennett retired 1 away.
He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. But players don't want to hear pitchers talking about getting in the lineup.
That's the last thing they want to hear.
Well, you heard Chipper's response. He said, "That's fine. I'm going to play." And he went out there Saturday, played at a home run. He said, "Our pitchers better not miss another start the rest of the year," because you know Smoltz has already missed starts this season. But Bobby Cox brought them together yesterday, and they kissed and made up. But then the Braves went out and got shut out again. Here's Maroth, and he takes ball one. Of course, facing young Andrew Miller, and his 96-mile-an-hour fastball didn't help.
He threw pretty fine, didn't he? I was watching a little bit of that game last night.
That's some pitching staff to go with incredible offense. I mean, their bullpen's a little short right now, but Detroit, it could be the best team in baseball when you put everything together. So Taguchi on deck, and Maroth swings over the slider 1-2.
And it's nice to see Detroit having a good team again. They've been down for so many years. You know, you grew up with our generation with K-Line and all those great players.
Third strikeout for Jorge Sosa as he gets the opposing pitcher. 2 out and nobody on.
Oh, this is not fair coming at him with this slider.
Center fielder,
That's that's not. He won't put that in the archives of his highlight reel.
His heart wasn't in it.
So 2 out and nobody on, and here's Taguchi, who went down looking his first time up. And he takes a strike. And because the Tigers have all those pitchers, that's why Mike Maroth was expendable, and why the Cardinals were able to pick him up for, well, for nothing. Player to be named later, presumably not going to be a big prospect.
You know, Gary and Keith, after seeing Oakland this weekend,
Oakland's in trouble.
They're in trouble, and there's not a lot of great teams out there.
Well,
I mean,
the Angels.
The Angels are tough.
The Angels are great.
I like Cleveland too.
The Red Sox. Cleveland's a good team.
It's amazing how we haven't mentioned anybody in the National League. To right center field, a long one over for Beltran, and the gap he won't get to it. It hops over the wall for a ground rule double for Taguchi, who with his 37-year-old legs still might have been able to get a triple out of that had it not bounced out of play. That's a 17-game hitting streak now for Taguchi.
Well, Taguchi is a good player, and the great thing about it is he goes, uses the entire field. That ball ran back over the middle of the plate, and Taguchi is not a big man, but that's pretty good power the opposite way. I think Beltran to right center.
I think also it showed in that point of release, Ron, where I think Sosa likes to gets too far down, and then the ball flattens out. He loses a little bit of that hump on his fastball, and it just kind of like a little fade in, and it loses velocity.
Yeah, LaDuca goes out there. They're probably going to go over which sign they're going to use, but if he gets on top of that ball instead of underneath it, what he really is doing is getting underneath the ball and on the side of it. So all it can do really, Keith, is just go flat back into the hitter.
And that's the kind of fastball, take it from me, that a lot of hitters love.
Yeah.
It just loses a little bit of velocity, and it's not a sharp break, and you can anticipate where the ball is going to end up. Does that make it, you understand what I was saying, Gary?
Yeah.
Is that clear?
You know what it is? It comes out of your hand, and it's already on that kind of break instead of late.
It's going to stay. It is going to stay on the same level horizontally.
So even if it moves, it's moving in a way that you can detect.
It's like an airplane doing a bank, a slow bank.
1-1 to Aaron Miles, who had an infield single his first time up. To Miles.
Well, Keith, I think you have it exactly right. Instead of on top of the ball, if he's on top of the ball with his hand, then the ball will, when it gets to the plate, it will sink. But instead, he's underneath on the side of the ball, so it just comes real flat like this across the middle of the plate. And to a left-hander, it travels right up to the big part of the bat.
And no, the great sinker ballers, Roger McDowell. For a reference for Met fans who had a great sinker. Roger threw over the top. And the tendency of pitchers think that they can throw more three-quarters to get more sink. Well, they lose that hard bite, and it becomes much easier to track as a hitter.
And yet you get a sidearmer like a Joe Smith.
But that's different. That's a different ball game because they're down Laredo.
2-2 to Miles. How far he chokes up on the bat. Fouls it away. Got Taguchi who chokes up. Miles
even further up on the bat. Don't see that much these days.
Well, don't forget, the guy that's going to probably break Hank Aaron's record always chokes up.
Well, I've always asked, because Bonds does that, how come more guys haven't done it?
I always choke. I mean, I wasn't a power hitter, but I always choked up a half inch on my bat.
2-2 to Miles. Slapped in the air to left. Gomez drifting back. And he's there to make the catch. He was playing awfully shallow against Miles to the opposite field, but able to retreat and make the play. Bottom of the third now, still no score.
The left fielder, number 27.
We go to the bottom of the third. Mets and Cardinals, no score. Opening game of 4 between the Mets and the Redbirds, and Carlos Gomez will lead off. Gomez starting his 22nd game, and who would have ever thought that he'd get this much playing time? But with the injuries to Alou and Chavez, Gomez getting a chance to stick around and seemingly improving every day.
Well, he still can be pitched to, and I like the fact that he's bunting a little bit, taking advantage of his speed. You see the infielders, the corners now have to respect his bunt. Both Pujols and Spezio are in aggressively in on the corners.
One to Gomez.
He can run, and just you can see the corners, infielders right there. He's no fly balls for him. Line drives, ground balls.
Hits it in the air deep down the left field line. It's hooking, and it goes foul. Well back in that load section above the auxiliary scoreboard.
Like a changeup, right, Ronnie? Got it in.
I would never throw him a changeup.
No, he certainly got style for someone that's been in the big leagues for 2 months.
He thought it was a home run.
Well, there was a day
he's hit one
when you would be on your back the next pitch, but that's not going to happen.
Well, I'm not sure with Mike Maroth throwing 83-mile-an-hour fastballs that would matter that much.
Oh, it still hurts, even at 85.
It does.
Might be able to get out of the way, though.
Yes, yeah.
Sosa waiting on deck. 1-2 to Gomez, and he misses with the fastball. It's 2-2.
That's his best fastball of the night right there at 87.
Mike Maroth 5-2 this season with the Tigers in 13 starts.
Gomez hits this one deep to left field. Back goes Duncan, and it's out of here. He could style on that all he wanted. Second home run for Carlos Gomez, halfway up in the bleachers in left center. And the Mets jump out to a 1-0 lead. No silent treatment this time.
Fastball right down Broadway, and he jumped all over it.
Well, the Mets have said all along about Gomez, who's just 21 years old, that the power is going to be there. Just a matter of when.
Well, that's his zone right there. That's his wheelhouse. That was right down Broadway. He took advantage of a bad pitch. This ball's not a field mouse home run. That ball's out of here.
2-0 to Sosa, taps one past the mound. Miles juggles, throws, and gets him one away. Could you define that for us, please?
Well, field mouses are very meek and tiny creatures. That was not a field mouse home run.
So it wasn't a matter of the distance, it was a matter of the authority.
Yes. Where was that last ball? Was it 6-3 in our scorecard?
6-3.
Okay.
With a juggle.
What do you put for a juggle? Jay? Here's Reyes. Yes. What do you suppose this is about?
Maybe about his home run trot?
I would bet it would be that.
Willie doesn't like that stuff.
Listen, if you're Alex Rodriguez and you're at 28 home runs, you can do whatever you want to do. But, you know, when your game is speed, good defensive skills, you want to get around those bases in a hurry.
You think he was talking about his actual home run trot or his foul ball home run trot.
Well, there it is right there. Just a fastball belt high out over the plate. And there you have it.
All we have to do is play a tape of Willie Randolph in his career when he would hit a home run. Get around those bases in a hurry.
Slap to third. And Spezio gets up. Low throw, but Pujols handles it. And that's the second out. That's two that Spezio's thrown in the dirt now. One to second and one to first.
A little off the end of the bat of Jose there. And Spezio's playing out of position. That was actually his father's position, third base. Played with the Cardinals back in the 60s. Part of that 67-68 championship team. Ed Spezio.
That was still one of the nicest sights we saw all season long at the beginning of the year when his father gave him the World Championship ring.
2 out and nobody on. Here's Valentin, and he takes low. This guy was talking the other day about his first bat. It was a Julian Javier model bat when he was just a kid. Said his father drilled holes in it to make it light enough for him. Taguchi coming in a few strides, and Valentin retired. So Maroth retires the next 3 after the Gomez home run, but Carlos's second career home run puts the Mets in front. We'll see what Sosa can do with the lead. Before the Mets take the field, get ready for game time on SNY, because we always lead off with North Fork Bank pregame live, setting the lineup before every Mets game on SNY. There's your Mets' upcoming schedule. 3 more games to go with the Cardinals before the Mets head out on an 11-game road trip that leads to the All-Star break. 4 in Philly, 3 in Colorado, and 4 in Houston.
Boy, 3 great hitting ballparks. Be licking my chops.
Albert Pujols takes a strike. Remember, all Mets home games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IO Digital Cable. Do you see in HD? Sosa keeps it away from Pujols 1-1. Albert Pujols is 27 years old. He has 266 career home runs. One and 2 to Pujols. He had 49 last year. And you see the career numbers for Pujols. He's averaged 43. He's only hit 16 this year, so he's a little off his pace in all his categories. He has a base hit here, leading off in the top of the 4th. The 3rd hit off Sosa. So the Cardinals have the leadoff man on. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
Oh, guys, talked to Omar Minaya today just about Moises Alou, and he's not any closer to returning. In fact, he definitely won't be back before the All-Star break. He's going to be examined in New York on Monday, next Monday, that is, by Dr. Alchek, the team doctor. If he is then cleared, it'll take at least a couple of weeks for him to get back and get with the team. Now, the question is, when he does come back, what does that leave Carlos Gomez? Do the Mets keep him on the bench and keep him with the big club, or do they send him down to get more at bats? Brings him kind of an interesting dilemma when he does come back, what they do with the emerging Gomez here.
Scott Spezio takes ball 1. Well, of course, part of it depends not only on Alou, but the status of Endy Chavez, because you figure you're going to get Endy back now about the same time you get Alou.
Well, you've also on the bubble would be Ricky Leday. So the decision would be between the 2 of them.
Right, but then the question becomes, if you have Alou healthy and Chavez on the bench, you're going to keep Gomez around as a 5th outfielder at age 21. Good slider is 1-1 to Spezio. You know what I mean? It's one thing if he's the 4th guy and he's filling in, but if he's the 5th guy, he can't stay.
No, he's got to get some at bats. Good slider there by Sosa. But I'll tell you, Moises Alou, he might not know his way around New York, but he knows his way to the hospital for special surgery, doesn't he?
Well, it's been the story of Mo's career, hasn't it? I mean, we've talked about it all the way back in spring training. If you give him back all the games he's lost to injury, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's what's happened to Alou this year is the same as has happened in so many seasons in his career.
And the older you get, it's not going to get any better. And that was the gamble that Omar Minaya took. There's no question that Alou can still play. It's whether he can just stay healthy.
2-1 to Spezio, and he takes a strike. 2-2.
The problem is when you're 28, an injury takes 20, 25 games away from you. When you're 40, sometimes it ends up being 35, 40 games.
Right, but the problem is early in his career he had devastating injuries, like the time he broke his leg in how many places on the AstroTurf in Montreal, and then when he tore up his knee in an off-season treadmill accident and missed the whole season. In there for a call, strike 3. Got him looking at the slider, and Spezio goes down looking for the second time. 4th strikeout for Sosa.
Well, Spezio not able to make the adjustment. The exact same pitch he struck out on the first time up. Little backdoor slider.
So that right there is, if you're a hitter, you file that in the back of your brain. Hopefully you have one. And hopefully you get up in the 9th inning or 8th inning with men on base that can beat the pitcher, and you sit on that outside corner slider and you burn them. You can go 1 for 4, but you got that one hit where he tried to get cute again out there. Well, goes back to the well once too often. Those were the best 1 for 4s.
It raises a very interesting question, what you just said. And the question is, who's smarter, pitchers or hitters?
Well, I don't know. Depends.
I think
Ronnie was very smart.
Yeah, but I think hitters, you know, you're talking about starting pitchers, right?
Duncan takes high, 1-1.
I think that everyday players, hitters, have great instincts for the game. If they didn't, they wouldn't be good hitters. And then whenever you have good instincts, you're going to have good instincts and a good brain for the game. So I would side with the hitters, even being a former pitcher.
I've got to throw the catcher into the mix too, who's calling the game. And to me, it's so much extra pressure that the catcher has to know. Number one, he has to catch the pitchers, he has to worry about his hitting and call a game. And I wouldn't want that extra added responsibility. I mean, we got Ted Williams up there or Barry Bonds. We're going to pitch in one way this way. The next time, God, do we mix it up this time? Do we go back or do we go back to the same well again? It's tough. That's the beauty of the game.
You know, we didn't have Tootsie Pops in the booth while you were gone. Where did they come from?
I have right here. We're set.
Oh, it's a stash.
We're set.
Jeez. You live right. Let me tell you. 3-1 to Duncan. Big pitch to make here for Sosa against a hot hitter, and he loses the bat going after that slider. I guess he wasn't looking for that on 3-1. I would think, though, as we look at this last pitch,
kind of a hanging slider. Lucky to get that one back.
Well, he's lucky he kept it away.
Yes.
Three and 2 to Duncan with 1 out. You don't figure Pujols to run. Struck him out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Sosa. He's got 5 for the night, matching his season high.
Well, watch this release. Another backdoor slider, but this one is a backup. Instead of breaking back over the middle of the plate, it just faded away, almost like a changeup. Ended up being a changeup against Duncan. As you can see, he's out front.
No 2 away. Encarnacion will come up against Sosa, who struck out 2 in a row. Encarnacion takes outside. I would think, though, that pitchers who have 4 days between starts would have enough time to educate themselves about hitters more than hitters would have time to educate themselves on a day-to-day basis about pitchers.
Well, I think that could be. I think that's true. But a lot of pitchers, especially now with all the specialization, a lot of pitchers never played the game. So you see this another slider by Sosa. They never played the game, so they don't have a feel sometimes for the game. And plus, hitters can change. They can be hitting the ball inside early in the year. They can be handling the breaking ball later in the year. So you can have all this information on a hitter, and then it's not going to work in that game because the last 10 games he just is seeing the breaking ball very good.
So is that something that's the kind of thing that sets a guy like a Maddox apart, who can look at a hitter and analyze him pitch to pitch?
Yeah, analyze his swing on that pitch and say, hey, boy, he's way out in front of my changeup, so I'm not going to give him a fastball to hit tonight.
And one thing about Maddox, I think one of the keys to his success was when he developed that little cutter.
Yeah.
he gets in trouble. He pounds hitters in. You get hurt out over the plate.
Yep. 1-2 to Encarnacion. Popped up right in the middle of the infield. Sosa calling, gets called off, and Delgado up and over the mound to make the play. So a nice job by Sosa after the leadoff hit by Pujols. That's a loud voice. The most outrageous family on television is coming to the CW11 this fall. Get ready for Family Guy, the hilarious hit that keeps critics raving and viewers coming back for more. Family Guy weeknights this September on the CW11. Carlos Beltran leads off in the home fourth inning. Mets with a 1-0 lead on Carlos Gomez's second home run. Beltran popped up his first time up, and they are playing him decidedly to pull on the infield. And then Maroth works him away.
And then look at the outfield, the center fielder. He is just a little bit to the right side of second base. A big gap in left center.
You don't see this infield alignment against Beltran very often.
No.
And I guess it's in deference to Maroth being a soft tosser. Pulled toward the hole, and Spezio with the diving stop. Up and throwing on target this time, and he got him. Nicely done by Scott Spezio to get Beltran away.
Well, nice. What a great angle right here. See Spezio's reaction. Diving just to make sure. Then it's all about getting up and making the proper throw. A good reaction from Spezio there. The hot corner. I think that red goatee there was the difference.
Thought it was 27 instead of 26 the way he made that play. Only that's Scott Rowland over there, and he eats up everything. There's David Wright, and he takes the curveball low. David fouled out to first his first time up.
And they've got the pull on him a little bit too. They got the second baseman up the middle.
2-0 to Wright.
Look at Angel Hernandez, got an elbow pad on. Just like the hitters.
I guess he's diving.
Yeah.
Wright lays off, and he stopped it in time. Ted Barrett with the call down at first, 3-0.
It's interesting what you said, Keith, about David Wright as he holds up here. Hasn't felt right all year and still getting his hits.
That's wide ball 4, and Maroth issues his second walk. Mets have a 1-out base runner. Time for the Toyota text poll of the game. Hello, text poll. Text poll. Which National League Central team do you think is the Mets' greatest competition? I guess who do you think is the toughest on the Mets? The Brewers, the Cubs, the Cardinals, or the Astros? Text your response to 57508 or visit sny.tv to enter. Stay tuned for results later in the game. Right now the Brewers with a 7.5 game lead over the Cubs, 8.5 over the Cardinals, 11 over the Astros. Haven't even talked about the Pirates and the Reds. That's a lot of games against those teams through the summertime. Here's Delgado, single to left center his first time up. Inside off the bat or the hand?
It sounded like the bat. That's off the knob. Now the first at bat, Gary, they pounded him a couple fastballs inside, and they're trying to do it again. It gets away from him. Oh, it did hit the handle.
But you notice how he immediately came up holding his hand. That was very nice reaction on Carlos's part. But Angel Hernandez immediately said foul ball. Roth's already picked one runner off tonight. He got Valentin back in first.
Well, at least it's not a beer. It looks like a Perrier or something.
Tony keeps a tidy house. Well, it's been such a troubled year for the Cardinals in that regard. I mean, you know, here's a team that plays in a stadium named for a beer company, and you know, La Russa arrested for drunk driving earlier in the year, and then Josh Hancock, who was legally drunk, involved in a fatal car accident. Delgado pulls it down to Pujols, goes to second, off the bag. Miles makes the tag, safe. Well, Pujols could have gotten the out at first, but opted to go 3-6-3 and couldn't get the throw on target.
Well, I think it's the right play here. Make the pivot. It's an easy two. Just a bad throw. Miles tried to get back, and then say a good hustle by David Wright.
The catcher, Paul Loduca.
Well, just not a good throw by Pujols.
It's a nice slide by Wright, too. Gets the inside part of the back with that little fadeaway slide.
Very nice slide. He came off the bag, but was able to get back as Miles was out of position. So it's a fielder's choice error on Pujols, who won a Gold Glove last year. And the Mets have 2 aboard for Loduca. And it's pulled down to third. Spezio right at the bag, makes the touch, makes the throw in the dirt, pulled out by Pujols. Double play ends the inning. Quite an adventure on the St. Louis infield, but Spezio, who has been right in the middle of everything, able to make this play for the 5-5-3 double play to end the inning. Wednesdays this summer, Daily News Live, presented by Citi, is stepping outside with shows in the SNY Studio Plaza at 51st Street and 6th Avenue. Come by this Wednesday at 5.
Yeah, it'll be around 95 degrees in the city and to be steaming. They'll be sweating through their suits.
I'm in shorts. We're a tank top.
That is the forecast.
It's supposed
the
to
next
be
couple of days will be scorchers.
Midsummer type weather.
About time.
Adam Kennedy leads off the 5th, swings over the slider. Kennedy flied to center his first time up, and you see those dreadful offensive numbers for Kennedy this year. He's a guy who's been known more for his bat than for his glove. No reason to throw him a fastball now. It's 0-2.
Well, this is just a hanging slider he's swinging right through, too. More off speed that fooled him.
Off the leg of Sosa into no man's land, and Kennedy has himself an infield hit. And Sosa appears to be all right.
Well, you just want to kick yourself as a pitcher, don't you, when you work as hard as you can to get to 0-2 and then not able to make the pitch. 0-2, you want to throw this ball, should be in the dirt.
Got him off the right leg, lower leg.
Yeah, the fastball knee-high outside corner, but he had a pitch to waste. And well, those pearls he's wearing again. He's wearing those pearls. Sosa, I like that necklace.
I don't believe they're actual pearls.
No, they're not. I'm pleased. I was worried for a minute.
So here's Gary Bennett with Kennedy aboard, and he goes the other way into right field, a base hit. Kennedy turns second and holds up there. And so the Cardinals have the first 2 men on. Time for a City Baseball Night in New York update. Let's go to Matt Yaloff back in the studio.
All right, Gary, we have breaking news. This just in, the Braves scored a run. Brian McCann drives it in. Edgar Renteria puts the Braves up 1-0. This is at home against the Nationals. Tim Hudson, 7 strikeouts through 5.
Well, it's been about a week's worth of output for the Braves. See if Tim Hudson can make it stand up tonight. Jason Bergman, by the way, started for the Nationals tonight, coming off the disabled list. He's just been relieved in the 5th inning.
Now, if you're Sosa here, you want to throw a strike with your first pitch, hustle your backside over to that third base line, and get yourself an out at third.
Well, Delgado's really charging aggressively, and I like that. It's forcing Moreau to really bunt the ball down the third base line.
Of course, Maroth's a career American leaguer, coming over to the National League now for the first time, so not all that familiar with the bunting game. Would you come right down his throat and play the wheel here?
You don't have to necessarily play the wheel, but definitely come. You can come down and throw it with the wheel. Yes, that's a very good call, Gary.
Of course, the Mets don't play that wheel very much.
No, they don't.
Play it straight up, and Maroth fouls it off 1-1.
And I guarantee you, Maroth, who's been in the American League and hasn't hit. What was that you said?
What was that?
I don't believe.
Where were we?
I don't believe what you just heard went over the air.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It startled me. Yes, we had some mixed minus in our ear.
Now the fans don't know what that means.
Well, why don't you
now you're
explain?
using technical terms.
Well,
on them.
explain it,
I don't
Garrett.
even know what it means.
You're the pro.
1-1 to Maroth. And he bunts it. And Wright will have to field it. Nicely done by Maroth. Wright at first was hoping it might go foul, but it was true. And so 5-4 on the sacrifice, moving the runners to second and third.
Well, that is a perfect bunt. This is right down the line, bat level out in front. Forces David Wright. Look at Delgado's all kind of pressure on him. And it forces David Wright to field. It vacates third base. Beautiful. And for you folks out there, mixed minus is the studio. When we hear the studio in our ear, that's mixed minus.
So you're saying somebody was saying something in the studio?
Yes, and there was a haywire, something screwed up in there.
Thank you for making the technical, jargon so clear for us.
I don't think we have to do that on camera.
Thank goodness. Well, Taguchi up with second and third and one out. The Mets have the infield back with the exception of Wright at third. Kennedy at third and Bennett at second. Mets with a 1-0 lead in the fifth, but that's in jeopardy. And Taguchi takes outside 2-0.
Maybe this is why the Cardinals are able to, only be 6 games under, as you see a picture of So.
Very interesting shot.
Maybe this is the way with being last in pitching, they're able to stay afloat because of the execution. We saw Minnesota a couple of teams ago execute so well.
Hit on the ground to second. That'll bring a run home. As Taguchi is thrown out by Valentin, Kennedy comes in to score, and the game is tied 1-1. So Taguchi drives in his 14th run of the year. And the Cardinals get even.
Good hitting by Taguchi, even though it's a slider away. He was going that way. He got ahead in the count 2-0. And forced Sosa to kind of throw like a little throw a strike slider there and try to get him out in front. Now I'm sure he'd rather have driven him in with an RBI single. But the fact that he got ahead and took the bait slider got him on a hitter's count.
So now the go-ahead run at third with 2 out, and Miles takes the slider for a strike. Aaron Miles had an infield single and fly to left 1 for 2.
And I think if you're a smart hitting team, especially the right-handers against Sosa, you just really have to be looking out over the middle of the plate for the fastball and the slider. Doesn't pitch inside to the righties very often.
1-1 to Miles.
The left-handed approach to Sosa is that Sosa has 2 weapons. He has the hard slider down and in, and he has the backdoor slider. So he's covering both sides of the plate. So it kind of keeps a left-hand hitter honest.
It's a big hitter for Sosa. Doesn't want to face Pujols with 2 men on. But he misses badly with that fastball, and it's 2-1 to Miles. And Delgado will take a trip into the mound to try and settle Sosa down and remind him who's on deck. Sosa pitched for the Cardinals last year after being traded there at the deadline from Atlanta. Pitched exclusively in relief for St. Louis and was not a part of their postseason roster. So the Cardinals know him a little bit. Pulled down to first. Delgado handles it. He'll take it himself. And so Sosa, after the visit from Delgado, induces the ground ball to Delgado to keep the game tied. Here's your New York Lottery box score as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Carlos Gomez with a 410-foot home run, his second major league home run. Got the Mets on the board in the 3rd. Cardinals have now tied it with a run in the 5th. And the Mets come to bat with the game tied in the bottom of the 5th as Mike Maroth gets set to face the Mets. With more, here's Kevin Burkhardt.
You know, guys, a lot of players have their own website. Mike Maroth does too, but his is pretty good. It's called MarothBaseball.com. All kinds of things on there, news, things about the team, things about his charities. And just recently, the last couple of weeks, he started blogging. I guess he had to join the rest of the world in Blog Nation. But his blogs are really good. They're really in depth. How about this last week for him? In the last week, went to the White House, was a guest on the Weather Channel as a weather forecaster, something he's always wanted to do as a kid. And then Friday was on the way to the Atlanta Aquarium with his family before he got the call from Dave Dombrowski, which effectively ended his Tigers career. And he really details it in great depth on the website. So it's a real interesting read. Maroth Baseball, if you're a baseball junkie looking for some behind-the-scenes stuff.
Well, it's a perfect way for him to introduce himself to Cardinal Nation as he works Green inside 2-1. And what everybody in Detroit said about Mike Maroth was that nobody could have handled losing 20 games better than he did. You have to be a pretty good pitcher to lose 20 games. As Green fights one off.
Well, that Tiger team was about as bad a team to pitch for. And, you know, Maroth lost 21 games. Look at the pitch count, 59. That's good. Real good. But, you know, there have been some great pitchers that have lost a lot of games early in their career. Tommy Glavine had a year where he lost 17.
And he gets Green swinging at the breaking ball. There's the first strikeout for Mike Maroth.
A good hard slider right here, Ronnie.
Yeah, it really is. Starts in the middle of the plate, right on the outside corner. Not only is it working away from Green, but also working down. That's how you want your slider to break.
So one out, and here's Carlos Gomez, who crushed his second career home run his last time up. First he hit one with home run distance that went foul, and then he hit one for real out to left center into the bleachers. And he takes a strike. Broken bat grounder, and Kennedy in front of it. Throws out Gomez, 2 away. By the way, speaking of losing 20 games, you know, the Mets, since they came into the league, have had more 20-game losers than anybody. Most of that was in the very early days of the Mets. Roger Craig twice lost 20.
Jack Fisher?
Al Jackson twice. Jack Fisher once. Tracy Stallard once. All of that was in the first 4 years of the franchise. And then the guy you didn't expect to be on that list, Jerry Koosman, lost 20 in 1977 as the Mets took their tumble into the dark days.
Well, Tracy Stallard, let me tell you, Tracy Stallard was a good pitcher.
Well, all those guys were good pitchers.
Yes.
There's a strike, 1-1 to Sosa.
Affleck!
Here's your Affleck trivia question for tonight.
Where is it?
I think the question was before Maroth, who was the last pitcher to lose 20, which, if you've been paying attention tonight, we've already given you the answer.
In Koosman's case, though, there's got to be a short list of guys that have lost 20 and won 20.
Phil Niekro did it in the same season.
That's right. You're right. I remember that. It was 60, where was it, 68 or? No, it had to be later than that. We'll look it up on the computer.
Sometime in the 70s, I think, with the Braves.
It was like, yes, he lost 21 or 21 and 20.
25 and 20, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's back in the days when guys started 40 games.
Well, knuckleballer, too.
Yes.
Struck him out with a changeup. Maroth with a 1-2-3 inning has a couple of strikeouts. So in his Cardinal debut, Maroth looking good, and we're tied at 1 through 5. Albert Pujols leads off the 6th inning for the Cardinals. Mets and Cardinals tied 1-1.
Well, Albert's 1 for 2 on the day. The first inning here, a slider got out in front off the end of the bat. You can see right there trying to pull an outside corner slider. Next at bat, another slider. Let's go with one hand. Out in front again. But look at him let go with one hand and stay level. It kept his good balance. That's just good hitting. Good pitcher's pitch. You got to tip your hat to the hitter.
Cardinals have 5 hits off Sosa. And Pujols takes a slider for a strike. By the way, did a little research.
Yes.
Phil Niekro, 1979, 21-20. However, I got a better one. Wilbur Wood, also a knuckleballer. 1973 with the White Sox, 24-20. You know how many games he started that year? 48.
Well, he was known. He pitched both games of a doubleheader.
Yep. Yeah, and he was on 3 days rest, right? Every third day, right?
2 days, yeah. Well, if you start 48 games, Pujols shoots one to right, and Green lays out to make the catch. Ball looked like it was going to drop, but Shawn able to make the play as it stayed up just long enough.
And we're talking about hitters making adjustment in the game. Slider, slider, slider. His first 2 at bats. Sitting on a ball away. That's good hitting right there, and that's just to hang with him. He hit it right where the guy was. Nice play by Shawn Green.
By the way, the year Niekro went 21-20, he started 44 games. Back when men were men.
That was 79, huh?
Yeah. Spezio pulling one foul. Spezio's been up twice, gone down looking both times.
When men were men. How do you mean that?
Throwing 60-mile-an-hour knuckleball.
That's very insulting.
To whom exactly? I mean, I bet Tim Wakefield, if he wanted to these days, could go out and start 50 games.
Yeah, but would they want him to? That's the problem. He's one of the few starters for the Red Sox that's been struggling this year.
Two and one to Spezio.
Now we're talking about hitters making adjustments, and Pujols showed you why. Perennial 300 hitter. Spezio has been struck out twice in his first 2 at bats on backdoor sliders. See if he's going to sit out there.
Off the outside corner, and it's 3-1. Sosa has not been all that behind in the count all that much today.
You see Spezio is pretty close to the plate right there. Would you consider that close to the plate, Ron?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he takes a 3-1 slider low, and Sosa issues his second walk of the night.
Interesting pitch choice there against Spezio. I know it's 3-1, but Spezio certainly, as you see the pitch count at 86. Spezio's got some pop, but I think you got to be confident if you throw 92 or 93 miles an hour to go after him with a sinking fastball.
Not exactly a power hitter.
Well, except that, you know, LaDuca observed Spezio against the Mets last year. And that might affect his pitch selection this year, don't you think?
The Mota fastball, you mean?
I mean, Mota had him tied in knots with the changeup, threw him the fastball. That was that same game, too. Spezio hit the ball off the wall, triple that drove in the tying runs in that game. 0-2 to Duncan.
Well, Duncan just wants a piece of cheese to hit. He's a fastball hitter, and that was a good fastball by Sosa right there, up and out of the strike zone where you can't get hurt. Upstairs, out of the strike zone, fouls it back. Now he can go back down with the breaking ball.
Piece of cheese that a field mouse might like. Duncan takes low. Mr. Duncan is no field mouse.
No, he's not. He does not follow. You look in the dictionary, there's not a picture of him under field mouse.
Encarnacion on deck. Sosa working ahead in the count on Duncan, 1-2. Missed the outside corner, and it's 2-2.
Well, it's pretty simple, isn't it, with Sosa? He's going to try to get ahead of you. If he gets ahead with 2 strikes, left-handed hitter, you're going to get a backdoor slider.
Hit the other way toward the line, dropping, base hit.
Spezio stops at second. And on the blue pit by Duncan, the Cardinals have 2 men on.
Well, this is a little slider that just kind of sits there on the outside corner of the plate.
Just out in front off the end of the bat, and Spezio got a terrible read on this. No one was going to catch this ball. And watch Spezio. Come on, you got to go to third base on that. It was just did not read it well at all. I shouldn't say come on, it happens. And there's the contact off the end of the bat. Really not a strike. That could very easily have been first and third right there for the Cardinals.
And that's a big base with 1 out in a tie game. Encarnacion fouls one back this way. And you're perfectly entitled to say, come on, anytime you want.
No, that was a little harsh. I mean, it's easy up here to sit, and we got Ronald's instant replay. But that play's right in front of you. Wasn't hit that high. There's no way Jose Reyes was going to get to it, or the left fielder.
Joe Smith quickly to work in the Mets bullpen. Sosa up to 92 pitches here in the 6th. Needs a double play grounder here from Encarnacion, who's twice hit the ball in the air. Fly to center, pop to first. And he pops this one foul, and now Sosa ahead in the count again.
Well, it's really important for him. See the first pitch strikes, his first 4 starts. That's a great number. 7 out of 10. Last 5 starts down to 50%. 13 to 24 today, just about the same, little over 50%. Key for Sosa is that he does have the weapons to put you away, but he's got to get ahead at first pitch strikes. So more important to him than any other pitcher on the Mets staff.
And he's ahead here, 0-2 on Encarnacion. Up high with the fastball.
See, I think he throws hard enough.
Yeah.
To throw more fastballs, Ronnie. I mean, he's got a good fastball.
Well, he used to throw his fastball more, and that's where he got in trouble.
But he can pitch like El Duque, throw a lot of early sliders and then spot his fastball after he gets ahead.
One-two to Encarnacion. In the air to center. Easy for Beltran. Spezio tagging. But he's going nowhere as Beltran airmails the throw on a fly to third. And now they're 2 away. It's very impressive, and the crowd cheers. But
second baseman Adam Kennedy.
Is that what you want to see?
No, you don't want to see that. And we've seen a lot of it this year where we did not see it last year at all from Carlos. And I've got to believe he knew that Spezio was just going to bluff, but you can't take anything for granted.
Rick Peterson heading to the mound to talk to Sosa before he takes on Adam Kennedy. Now remember, Kennedy, he got ahead of 0-2 the last time, and then Kennedy hit that comebacker off Sosa's leg for an infield hit and wound up scoring the Cardinals' only run.
Well, Rick doesn't have a glove, so he's got to use his hand to block his mouth as he's speaking.
It would be awfully tough to read his lips as softly as he speaks.
True.
Did you read the article, Servy's question column with
I did.
Rick and the 3 people he wanted to have dinner with?
Gandhi,
Muhammad
Ali,
and Socrates.
Pretty good. No, not many people put Socrates on their list. You get a lot of Gandhis, a lot of Muhammad Alis. Socrates is a good choice. I mean, you could go with Plato. You get pretty much the same discussion. Right. 1-0 to Kennedy.
I think Socrates would have fit right into the 60s.
Why do you say that?
Rebellious, like you. At Columbia with your hair down to your fanny.
Yeah, that was me. Before I sold out, just like the rest of us. 1-0 to Kennedy and slider in for a strike. You've seen the pictures I take.
I have.
Gary Bennett waiting on deck.
I'm actually jealous. I've always wanted to grow my hair that long.
But you were always a ball player.
Yeah.
Where were you going to get away with that?
I wasn't.
2-1 to Kennedy.
Plus, you have to remember, I met Keith's father. Never be allowed in our house.
No.
Well, that's the whole point of rebellion.
Right. Our household was like the Cincinnati Red organization.
Crew cuts and no facial hair, huh? Big spot for Sosa with 2 out and 2 on. Tie game, 6th inning. Pull foul.
Oh.
And that one went into the front row behind the photo box.
It always amazes me how people get out of the way.
And they did.
Because that was right in there. Oh, it got him. Yeah, that ball bites you.
Just a flesh wound.
That thing will be as big as a baseball on his arm in about 10 minutes.
Kennedy take a little glance over at the hole on the left side. Just off the corner, and it's 3-2. You're right, playing off the line against the left-hand hitter. Well, now the runners will be in motion as Sosa 100 pitches deep. If he doesn't get Kennedy here, we'll probably see Joe Smith to pitch to Bennett. Spezio at second, Duncan at first, gets set to take off. In the air to center field. Beltran back a few strides. He's there. Side retired. So Sosa, after a walk and a blue pit, again uses the big part of the ballpark and keeps the game tied going to the bottom of the 6th.
Congratulations to these lucky fans. They've just received.
To get your SNY on the web, make your homepage SNY.TV, the online home of all things New York sports. Pre-game, post-game, every game. If you want your SNY online, bookmark SNY.TV. Home 6th inning, top of the batting order for the Mets. Third time through against Mike Maroth.
And being the third time through, you would think with Reyes leading off, a good chance for the Mets to try to push ahead here.
Reyes had a big day yesterday with 3 hits and a walk. 0 for 2 tonight. And he takes the curveball on the outside corner.
Corners in, of course. Reyes, a very fine bunter.
Mets have had just 2 hits tonight. And Maroth again throws the breaking ball, and it's 1-1.
Listen, by the way, the Spezio's thrown tonight. I would lay one down to Spezio. See if he can make that underhanded toss to first base.
Not a very good ball strike ratio for Maroth, but his pitch count is low. And Reyes waves at that breaking ball, and it's 1-2.
That's that circle changeup from Maroth. He got on top of it. When he gets on top of it, that ball goes straight down.
It's a big inning for Maroth right here. Top of the order for the Mets.
He's had himself a terrific night in his Cardinal debut, his National League debut. Throws the fastball wide. It's 2-2.
Overthrew that one right there. That wasn't even close.
Valentine to follow, and then Beltran here in the bottom of the 6th. And Reyes pops one foul. It'll go back in the seats.
Well, Maroth on 6 days rest or more is 3-1 for his career, pitching on his 7th day here because of the trade, so should be plenty strong.
Faced the Nationals last Monday in his last start for the Tigers. Keith would be stepping out now with the plane flying over. But Reyes hangs in and pops it up. Pujols into foul ground. And Reyes retired, one away. Time to check in with the studio. A baseball night in New York update, and Matt Yellow.
All right, thank you, Gary. Athletics and Indians in Cleveland. This is Ryan Garco with the Indians down 2-1. This one over the head of Mark Kotze. We saw that at Shea as well. 2 runs come in. 3-2 Indians, bottom 7th. See more on Geico Sportsnet.
Travis Hafner with a home run in that game for the Indians, who start the day 2 games behind Detroit in that competitive AL Central. So here's Valentine, who's walked and flied out. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Maroth's done a nice job of mixing things up tonight.
He's done a nice job with that curveball, too. First pitch strikes with it.
Another fastball, and it's 2-0.
2 years ago, he won 14 games after losing 21 the year before.
On 1-1, Valentine takes a strike with the curveball, and it's 1-2.
Beware of starters after they've been traded. Always their first start always seems to be kind of special, because if you're the person who's traded, you want to impress your new bosses, new teammates.
2-2 to Valentine. Your first start with the Expos or your first start with the A's? Which
First start with the A's was beautiful. 7 innings, shutout ball for win number 100.
Against who?
Seattle Mariners. The one with the Expos.
Clobbered?
Wow. It was bad.
Well, you're in a foreign country.
Maybe that's why he got traded again. And he strikes him out with a changeup. That's the third strikeout for Maroth. They've all come in the span of the last 5 batters. 2 away.
The center fielder, Carlos.
He's got a good changeup tonight, but I think the reason his changeup is so successful is that he's mixing in his other pitches. He's throwing some balls inside to the right-handers. He's throwing that curveball over, so although he's a different pitcher than Joe Blanton with that great effort that the A's had, that's what Blanton did. He just included all of his pitches for strikes the entire night.
So 2 out for Beltran, who's 0 for 2. Joe Smith on call in the Mets bullpen. Sosa's thrown 101 pitches in 6 innings, so he may be done. At the lower part of the order, 8, 9, and 1 coming up in the top of the 7th. And Beltran takes a strike, 1-1.
Well, Maroth, you can't really say, Ronnie, that he's a changeup pitcher.
Yeah.
He's mixed up his fastball, his curve, and his change. He's good sprinkling of all 3 pitches.
Fastball hit hard, but right at Miles, positioned perfectly over toward the hole, and he throws out Beltran, and that's 7 in a row now retired by Mike Maroth, as the Mets are easy prey in the bottom of the 6th. Cardinals come up in the 7th, still tied at 1. Take mass transit to Shea as the series with the world champion Cardinals continues tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. Don't miss it. Go to Mets.com for your tickets. Joe Smith takes over the pitching for New York as we go to the 7th.
Well, he's second as far as placement for rookies with those 34 games, this being his 35th appearance. 30 out of his 34 appearances, he's given up no earned runs. And of course, he had that team record to start the year, 15 in the 3rd with no runs.
But it's been 5 days since Smith pitched, and the last time out against the Twins, he did not fare well, as Jorge Sosa is done after 6 innings.
He looked a little perplexed that his night was done. The handshake from Hojo. I don't know. I would be politicking. Absolutely. I would go. You don't go to the manager because the manager doesn't want to hear it from you. But I would go up to my pitching coach and say, my pitching coach, Mel Stockman, hey, Mel, I'm feeling good.
I'm not tired.
I'm not tired. I'm ready to go.
I threw 6 innings in Little League.
But does a Jorge Sosa have the standing at this point in his Mets career to do that?
You can stand up for yourself and go to your pitching coach and say, look, come on. And if I was a manager, I wouldn't have a problem if my pitcher came up to me and said, hey, I'm fine. Give me 1 more. Give me 2 more. I can go. It was something I'd want to hear. But, you know, this is the changes in the game.
I mean, these days, let's face it, Gary Bennett takes inside. If you finish an inning and you have more than 100 pitches, the likelihood is you're going to be taken out unless you're in a special circumstance. And I mean, it's what the game is now.
Yeah, I just, you know, personally, you look at, I could see if, you know, the manager's saying to himself, okay, Albert Pujols is leading off the inning. You know, he could take me deep because he's faced me for the 4th time. But I don't know. You got 8, 9, and, you know, Maroth's going to hit. You got 8, 9, 1. A real chance to maybe go through it. But, you know, it's not a knock on taking people out because that's how the game has changed. It's just how it goes. But I'm just saying what I would do personally is politic to my pitching coach. Hey, come on now. I can definitely give you 3 more outs.
Willie's a Met fan. See that watch?
Nice.
He was here at Shea growing up. 3-1 now to Gary Bennett. This is a guy that Joe Smith cannot walk.
Well, I think another thing, too, we'll run with 1 quick point about that. You got 7 guys in the bullpen now, and you can't let them rot out there. They need their work.
Well, there's a lot of work coming up the next 2 weeks. Bounce foul. The Mets are playing 15 games in 14 days starting today, going to the All-Star break. You got that doubleheader in Philly Friday, no off days. So there'll be plenty of work to go around for that bullpen, you'd think.
Hey, the Braves got 4 runs.
Yeah, Brian McCann hit a home run.
Boy, they just been struggling offensively. They're ahead 4-1 in the bottom of the 7th.
Pitching change. 3-2 to Bennett, way outside. And that was not the way Joe Smith wanted to start this inning in a tie game, walking the number 8 hitter.
Well, definitely not with the pitcher coming up next.
The pitcher, Mike
Sets up the
Maroth.
bunt situation. See how aggressively the Mets played in the corners.
Well, we've seen David Wright over these last couple of weeks play extremely aggressively in these spots.
We'll take a peek at him now. That's where he should be. Putting that kind of pressure on the pitcher. Now the pitcher now has got to bunt towards the first base line.
Yes. Roth already has a sacrifice today, 0 for 1. He misses that bunt attempt. Strike one.
Well, if they charge too much, a pitcher can always bring that bat back, and they call it the butcher boy play, to take it back and swing the bat. You see Johan Santana do that last night in Florida. He butcher boyed and hit a triple.
Had a double here and then a triple last night.
It's a butcher man.
This is at a different level, isn't he? Yeah. Roth gets out of the way and it's 1-1. And seems though Joe Smith's a little off, and he has been his last couple of outings.
Well, he started so unbelievable that no one pitches like that all season long. He's going to go through these little hiccups, but needs to throw a strike here to get an out.
Pedro Feliciano getting ready. Roth bunts it foul, and now Smith ahead 1-2.
And don't think that David Wright down his throat like that doesn't put pressure on the batter. And particularly on top of this, the fact that Maroth has been in the American League, hasn't hit.
You know, remember we saw that the other day with Joe Blanton when Wright was 20 feet away from him.
What you have to do as a pitcher, though, you can't hold the ball too long because you're gonna leave him hanging out there. Get rid of it quick.
On 1-2, Maroth
Swinging the bat, and he hits it by Wright and down the line. And the Cardinals have 2 men on. Well, that, of course, is the danger of charging too hard. They might slap one by you, and that's exactly what Maroth did.
Well, this is just David's kind of caught in nowhere's land, way off the line, a little bit too much. Should be a little closer to the line, and this is just very fortuitous right there, I would say, the proper word.
It was kind of interesting. When Wright noticed that Maroth was going to swing the bat, he kind of jumped into position, and it was like one jump to the left.
So now let's see if they bunt with Taguchi with first and second and nobody out. Taguchi already has a double tonight. He drove in the only run with a ground out, and he looks like he's going to bunt. And lays off 1-0. So this inning tumbling down for Joe Smith. A walk, and then Maroth with 2 strikes, slapping one by David Wright. And now there'll be a lot of coaching going on. Rick Peterson to the mound. So Taguchi over to talk to Jose Akendo, his third base coach. We'll see if the bunt is still on.
Basically saying, throw a strike. You got to be careful here, too, because you put a hit and run on right now.
Taguchi's a good hitter and a hot hitter right now.
A hot hitter and a line drive hitter, and you've got a sinker ball pitcher who throws ground balls. So you got to be. It's not the time to put on the wheel, and have Reyes break over here and leave shortstop wide open.
Well, Taguchi showing bunt, but not bunting.
The double steal is on, and the Mets are caught napping.
Well, I don't know why Paul did not throw to third base. David was there. He wasn't on the bag. Watch David in the corner of your eye right here, in the corner of the screen. He can throw it to him. I know it's kind of a split reaction thing, and the fact that Taguchi was blocking his view.
Well, it's your slow-running catcher and your pitcher executing a double steal. Now the infield has to come in, and Taguchi takes a slider for a strike, 1-2. Bennett picks up his first stolen base, and Maroth his first as well.
Well, that was a hit and run right there, Gary.
Taguchi just missed it.
Hit to second, short hop by Valentine, holds the runners, 1 out.
So Bennett and Maroth hold, and there's 1 away.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see what happens here. A nice play by Valentine, coming in and charging, getting the short hop. And this is not a contact play by the runner there. You don't want to run yourself out of the inning.
Well, Bennett,
not with no outs.
Bennett's not a fast man, so.
You got to go after Miles here because you've got the big guy behind the plate. Then if he gets him out, then Willie's got a big decision to make here with an open first base with Pujols up.
Well, this is the big out right here. Second and third and 1 out, and Miles takes low 1-0. Miles is 1 for 3, had an infield hit. Pujols on deck. Remember, Smith was brought in to face Pujols in that opening series in St. Louis, and got him out. Slider in for a strike, and it's 1-1 to Miles.
And La Russa loves to squeeze.
But do you squeeze here with second and third and your big guy on deck?
I wouldn't, but he loves to squeeze.
And Miles is an outstanding bunter. Smith coming in on him, and it's 1-2. So Joe in a spot where he'd really dearly love to get a strikeout. Miles is a tough man to fan. Choking up on the bat.
Struck him out. There's a big pitch for Joe Smith. Got Miles chasing the slider, and there are 2 men down.
Well, getting under that slider is Joe Smith. Doesn't really break that much. Stays up in the strike zone. And foul tipped by Miles into the glove of Paul LaDuca.
And not a strike. And they're going to walk Pujols and take a chance with the hot hitting Spezio from the left side of the plate. And I have no qualms with this.
No, I don't think there's any question that you can't let Pujols beat you in this spot. And they'll load the bases and take on Spezio, who, although he's been a Met killer the last year or so, certainly is the more desirable option. Now the question is, do you leave Smith in to face him, or do you bring in Feliciano? The numbers would tell you to leave Smith in because Spezio's been a better right-hand hitter than left this year. And there's ball 4, and Albert gets the intentional walk. But looks like Willie may go the other way. Well, see what he does.
For the lifetime career for Spezio, it's pretty much the same, Gary. 257 versus left-handers, 254 against right-handers.
Well, Willie's got a lot of faith in Pedro Feliciano, so he'll turn Spezio around and make him a right-hand batter. Feliciano will come on. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. It's the most advanced fiber optic network straight to your home.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mets and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mets.
Now, Pedro Feliciano has stranded 17 of 22 inherited runners. Will try and strand 3 here in the 7th.
And you're right, Gary. Willie Randolph just has great confidence in Feliciano. He's gotten better and better at getting right-handed hitters out. He's using that changeup and sinking that fastball away.
Well, the Cardinals had second and third and nobody out. Joe Smith got the ground ball from Taguchi with the infield in, struck out Miles, intentionally walked Pujols, and now with the bases loaded and 2 down, Feliciano will take on Scott Spezio, who struck out twice against Sosa and then walked his last time up. 1-1 in the 7th. Bases loaded, 2 out. And it's wide with the breaking ball, 1-0.
You know, I always thought in this situation that as a pitcher, you don't have 3 balls to work with. You have 2. 2 strikes and 2 balls, because you can't get to that 3-ball count and take a chance that you don't make the pitch. The umpire might not call the pitch. Also have the runners running.
Well, that's why hitters' stats are always much higher with the bases loaded. Pressure's on the pitcher.
Spezio takes the fastball out of the strike zone and held the swing in time. 2-0.
Well, this is a good pitch to hit right here.
Spezio's hitting .341 as a right-hand batter this year.
As a pitcher here, you got to say to yourself, throw a strike, keep it down, and boys, someone catch it.
Fastball on the corner. Great pitch by Feliciano, 2-1.
And that pitch could have gone either way.
Angel Hernandez has not been calling the ball off the plate very much tonight, but Feliciano and the Mets might have gotten a break there.
He got the call, but it's too close. It can go, that pitch can go either way.
2-1 to Spezio. Fastball back to the mound.
Feliciano makes the play. Side retired. The Cardinals at second and third and nobody out. Smith and Feliciano combined to strand him. The comebacker handled by Feliciano. Seventh inning stretch, tied at 1.
We go to the bottom of the 7th. Mets and Cardinals tied at 1. Fans are up and stretching. Mr. Mets giving out souvenirs. IO Digital Cable and SNY invite you to enter the Amazing Day at Shea sweepstakes. One winner will take the mound and throw out the first pitch August 21st. To enter, go to doucnhd.com. Mike Maroth has been terrific in his National League debut. David Wright leads off the home 7th and takes ball 1. David has popped up to the first baseman and drawn a walk. Mets have had just 2 hits tonight. And he misses wide with a changeup, and it's 2-0. Ricky Leday bat in hand for a potential pinch hitting assignment later on. 2-0 to Wright. David bounces one down toward third. It's a fair ball. Spezio with the throw, dropped. Pujols, who made a throwing error earlier in the game, this time drops a throw. He won a Gold Glove last year, but he's not playing like one tonight.
Well, nice play by Spezio. And that's just dropped by Pujols. He's got to make this play. That should be an error on the first baseman right there. It wasn't in the dirt.
Right in the pocket. Well, Pujols coming into the night had made 4 errors on the season. He's now made 2 errors in this game. So the Mets have the tie-breaking run at first and Carlos Delgado at the plate. And Maroth nearly had Wright picked off after picking off Valentin earlier in the game.
Well, David's not going to be able to sneak stolen bases anymore. They know now that he is a bona fide stolen base threat.
Delgado has singled to left center and then reached on a fielder's choice his last time up, 1 for 2. And Maroth throws a fastball strike. Paul LaDuca hitting 6th in the order on deck. And time asked for by Gary Bennett, the catcher. Russ Springer, the veteran right-hander, up in the Cardinal bullpen. Well, David 16 out of 16 on the year. But Maroth does not give up many steals with that move. Delgado swings over the slider and it's 0-2.
Well, good slider from Maroth there. Gary Bennett had called fastball away, shook him off, went to the slider, and the right pitch there.
Well, let's see with 2 strikes if he tries to come in to get Carlos. Carlos, as we've seen all year, we're going to take a peek here. He's shown the ability to go the other way. Spezio's way over in the shortstop position. He wants another slider.
Why not? And he lays off this one. It's 1-2.
You see the defense there. Spezio really basically playing in the shortstop position. And I like this defense against Delgado. Straight up on the right side of the infield. But don't give him that big hole. With 2 strikes, he goes that way.
Miles playing in on the dirt, double play depth, not back in the outfield as you would with nobody on. And Delgado waves at the slider. Maroth went right back to it, and he has his 4th strikeout of the night. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, nice pitching by Maroth. He got ahead, 0-2. tried one outside about a foot. This one he tries another one out there. And I think if Carlos would have laid off this one too, he might have came back in with a fastball inside. Good pitching by Moroth.
Well, he just kept feeding him that slider further and further out. And Carlos, like he's been doing all year, has been just out in front and committing too early.
So 1 out and 1 on, and here's LaDuca, who twice has hit the ball on the ground to third, once for a double play. And he takes the breaking ball for a strike. LaDuca, who found out today that he has been suspended for 2 games for his outburst on Saturday night. He is appealing the suspension, hoping to get it reduced from 2 games to 1. But whether he'll pursue the appeal or drop it, that remains to be seen. Right, the tie-breaking run at first in a tie game. 1-1 to LaDuca.
Boy, Chris Duncan in left field playing extremely deep for LaDuca.
Well, he doesn't go back on balls very fleetly.
Yeah. He doesn't move from that spot pretty much. I mean, look at that. There's a huge gap in left center field. Taguchi shaded to right center. And Encarnacion's playing shallow and right, as he should.
Hasn't been much work for that Cardinal outfield tonight. Moroth has kept the ball on the ground. And the runner goes, and LaDuca on a hit and run play fouls it off.
And that was a good move by Willie. He hasn't done that much this year. But this is a 1-1 ball game. You're in the 7th inning. It was a good count to do it on. And David right there, no intent to steal. Saw him, made sure the pitcher went home, and it was a good pitch to hit and run with LaDuca. He just fouled it back.
Yeah, I think that's great by Willie, because you have a tough pitcher who's pitching a great ball game. He only got a couple of hits. Why not try to do something a little different?
And a pitcher who invites contact. Now it's 1-2. So you wouldn't expect the hit and run play. Jams him and he fouls it off. It's where he's been effective against the right-hand hitters tonight.
He's been very impressive to me, Ron, as far as mixing his. You can't look at him and say that he wows you, but he's been mixing his pitches up and spotting them well.
Yeah, he started him out with a curveball for a strike, then threw his changeup way down, then came right at him with another curveball, and then that cutter in.
Slider.
Right runs, hit to left field. Duncan moving in, and he makes the catch. Wright has to re-tag on his way back. Duncan with the throw, not in time. Duncan staggered, but he made the play for the second out.
Well, staggered isn't the word for it here. This ball is ripped. And Wright had a great jump and sinking line drive. And Duncan, not known for his defense, it's a great shot right here. You can watch him all the way.
Let's see how that ball dips, though. That had a lot of top spin on it. That would have been a tough play for many outfielders, because that had that good top spin.
And if he'd been able to keep his feet, he might have gotten Wright getting back to first.
Well, David got a little bit carried away there, getting around that base a little bit. And you're right, Gary. If he didn't fall down, he's doubled up.
Here's Shawn Green with 2 out. Wright still at first. And the slider misses.
Wright's got to watch himself now, though, because Moroth, one more time before he goes after Green, he's going to give him one more good move to first base.
Aaron Heilman getting ready in the Mets bullpen as they work down toward the bottom of the batting order. Feliciano faced one batter in the top of the inning, a huge one, getting Spezio with the bases full.
He's got a nice move, and he gets a quick delivery home too. So as a base stealer, David right now has to take a chance as soon as he breaks from the belt, steal the base, and just hope he's not coming over. Fastball away.
Wright is picked off. Pujols with the throw on target, and Miles with the tag, side retired. Second pickoff from Moroth tonight, and Pujols makes the good throw after committing his second error of the game. Wright is hung out to dry. It'll be his first caught stealing of the season.
I'm Brian Custer. Coming up on Geico Sports tonight, the Knicks' David Lee addresses his team's all-season wish list and draft needs. See more on Geico Sports tonight.
The St. Louis Cardinals coming to Shea for the first time since last year's National League Championship Series, and Jorge Sosa against his old club right in the groove. Carlos Gomez, his second career home run, gave the Mets the early lead. The Cardinals scratched out a run to tie it. Good defense by Spezio kept it from getting out of hand. And now Pedro Feliciano, who got a big out in the 7th, starts Chris Duncan off with a strike as we start the 8th. Duncan 1 for 2 and a walk. Feliciano's fastball in for a strike, 0-2. Well, David Wright had stolen 16 consecutive bases this year and 19 consecutive dating back to last year, but that streak has now come to an end after Maroth picked him off. Just to clarify, any pickoff on which the runner tries to get to second, if he's caught, it goes in the books as a caught stealing. If he doesn't make an attempt to get to second, then it's strictly a pickoff. So Wright's streak ends on that 1-3-6 caught stealing. And Duncan down on the slider. Feliciano with his first strikeout. One away.
Well, that's one of the reasons that Chris Duncan does not get a lot of at-bats against the left-handers, as he is totally fooled by this Feliciano slider. But I don't know the job that Feliciano has done the last year and a half. Just unbelievable.
He had a fine year last year. He's having a better year this year.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Well, his responsibility has been stepped up this year, and he has responded. Here's Encarnacion, who's 0 for 3.
Well, last year, his buddy in the pen, Chad Bradford, had to bail him out a couple of instances, but he's been the one bailing other relievers out.
I think that's a good point. Back to Feliciano. He knocks it down and has time. Makes the glove flip. And there are 2 out. And I don't know where that ball got him.
Ball's hit hard, 1 hop. That might have got him on a wrist or something. Let's see.
I think he didn't get any glove on it. I think it got him right in the stomach. They're laughing a little.
Well, that he'll recover from. I was concerned it hit his pitching hand. But I guess he's okay.
He's fine.
Wind knocked out of him, maybe.
I thought these guys do all this core exercises of the sit-ups.
That's a pitcher.
I forgot. Thank you, Ron, for correcting me.
Got him right in the bread basket.
I think it did.
He's fine.
And of course, Willie wants to keep him in the game here with the left-hand hitting Kennedy coming up. Check out the Toyota National League scoreboard. The Braves with a plethora of runs tonight. Brian McCann with a home run, and they're up 4-1. The Phillies and the Marlins are both off tonight. Cubs lead the Rockies in the 4th. Brewers up 3-0. Home run for J.J. Hardy tonight. Brad Penny takes his 9-1 record to Arizona. The D-backs back in first place now by a game over San Diego and a game and a half over L.A. And Tim Lincecum, who's been struggling, faces the Padres tonight. And the slider in for a strike to Adam Kennedy. Kennedy 1 for 3. And hits this breaking ball in the air pretty well to right center. Green chasing back, and he makes the catch going away. Side retired. So Pedro Feliciano faces 4, retires 4. Mets will come up in the bottom of the 8th inning with Shawn Green to lead it off. We go to the bottom of the 8th. First, let's answer our Aflac trivia question. Mike Maroth, 21 losses in 03. Before him, the last pitcher to lose 20 or more. If you were listening, you heard us mention Brian Kingman's name. Kingman was very protective of that.
Was. I don't know why, but
if you like the distinction between innings, the Mets strength and conditioning coach Jeff Cavalier looking at Feliciano.
He's saying, you see, do your sit-ups.
And Willie talking to David Wright about that pickoff, and Willie did not seem pleased.
I wish I was a lip reader. Willie doesn't like it.
Shawn Green leads off against Maroth, who's gone all the way and has looked terrific, allowing just 2 hits. The Mets' last hit was Carlos Gomez's home run leading off the 3rd. And Maroth has worked around a couple of errors in the interim, both by Pujols. And Green takes the fastball for a strike, 1-1. Well, you know, chest protectors have been good props on that Met bench and in the clubhouse the last couple of days. I don't know how widely reported it was, but after Delgado had a throw by Valentin hit him in the chest on Saturday, yesterday he arrived at his locker to find a chest protector with his name on it and Valentin's number right in the heart of it, which had been hung there by David Wright.
I like that sort of ribbing in the clubhouse.
Yeah, clubhouses can be harsh. It's good, though.
So Ryan Franklin up in the Cardinal bullpen, Billy Wagner up in the Mets bullpen, as Green has worked the count to 3-1, leading off in the bottom of the 8th, and they're still talking about it. Green hits it in the air toward the left field corner. Duncan getting over, and he's got it. One away. Green has been hitting the ball with authority the other way. This is interesting, isn't it?
Well, I think this happens a lot of times. It's a difference of opinion. It can sometimes happen between a player and a manager.
I think it's all part of the learning and teaching process. Willie likes to teach. Everybody forgets David Wright's only in his 4th year. I mean, he's not a 8-year veteran.
Well, Tony La Russa is making a change. He's going to make a double switch. Ryan Ludwig goes into play left field, and he'll make a pitching change. And Maroth, after 7 1/3 terrific innings, will come out with the game tied in the bottom of the 8th. Mike Maroth coming off after his first National League start. Some Cardinal fans and even a couple of Met fans giving him a hand, and boy, his teammates are happy with his effort. Meanwhile, David Wright does not want the discussion to end about that pickoff by Maroth that ended the bottom of the 7th.
Well, this is all good stuff. You got a guy right there on the left, Willie Randolph. Tremendous career, winning career. You'll learn a lot from Willie.
Yeah. Winning player.
Yep.
Played the game right. Well schooled.
Ryan Franklin's had a good year for the Cardinals coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he really has. Batter's only batting .233 off him. He has not allowed an earned run in his last 7 appearances for the Cardinals. Former starter for the Seattle Mariners, now a bullpen man.
Carlos Gomez has accounted for the Mets' only run tonight with his 2nd home run. That was the Mets' last hit. It came in the bottom of the 3rd. And Franklin's first pitch slider misses.
Well, Cardinals in at the corners, and you can see Spezio guarding the line. Pujols is not.
Ricky Leday on deck to pinch hit. And the slider misses, and it's 2-0. Ryan Ludwig has come into play left field, so he'll bat 9th, and Franklin will go in the 5 hole as Chris Duncan came out of the game.
You can see Spezio right here guarding the line, and because the right-hand hitter, Pujols is way off the line.
2-0 to Gomez. Nice time to sit on a fastball.
Well, now that you've taken Maroth out of the game, if Gomez can somehow get on base, the running game comes into play again.
Yes, it does.
And Franklin and Bennett having trouble getting together. Our Panasonic Plasma replay. Panasonic for the speed of sports. 3rd inning after a foul home run. Gomez makes no mistake with the next one. And Willie talks to him about styling. He's had a lot to say to his young players tonight, hasn't he? It was interesting Saturday night after the Mets 1-0 win. Willie had a lot to say about the Mets, what he called shabby play. He's getting a little bit more outspoken publicly about his team's foibles as the year goes along. Fastball strike to Gomez, 2-1.
Well, I think the Mets last year played just so solid all season, and this was the first year where they started making some mental errors.
Slider misses, and Franklin has not been able to throw that pitch for a strike, and now he's behind 3-1. Three and 1 to Gomez, and he swings through the fastball. 3-2.
Well, just a heater upstairs. He put himself in that position by falling behind 3-1 with the slider.
3-2 to Gomez. Struck him out. Him up and in with the fastball, and there are 2 away.
Well, 2 counts in the favor of young Gomez, and just got blown away with 2 cheddar cheeses right here, and this one up and in.
Well, you tend to think when you're facing a young player that they're usually overly aggressive. The fastball they can hit, and they'll chase the breaking pitches. Gomez is kind of the opposite. He hasn't shown yet that he can handle a good fastball inside or upstairs.
So here's Ricky Leday to pinch hit with 2 out and nobody on. Ricky, you can hit a long ball. Looking to untie this game in the bottom of the 8th. He has 1 home run this year, and he takes the breaking ball for a strike.
Well, you're pinch hitting, and a guy leads you off with a curveball like that, you got to spit on it and just take it.
Fastball fouled off, and it's 0-2. Mike Maroth went 7 1/3, allowed 1 run and 2 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. The only blemish, the Gomez home run in his Cardinals debut. And he had to do some extra duty, too, working around a couple of errors by Pujols in the 4th and again in the 7th. 0-2 to Leday. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ryan Franklin, who was caught cheating under baseball's substance abuse policy 2 years ago, sat out 10 days. That was the rule at the time, not 50 as it is now. Hit toward the hole, run down by Kennedy. And the side retired. So Franklin comes in to get a couple of outs, and we're going to the 9th. Maroth will get a no decision tonight, but an awfully fine job in his first start. Wagner will come on to try and keep it tied for the Mets.
I'm Brian Custer. Coming up on Geico Sports Night, Giants quarterback Eli Manning looks ahead to the upcoming football season. See more on Geico Sports Night.
Number 13, Billy Wagner.
Billy Wagner making his run in from the bullpen to the strains of Enter Sandman. Takes over a tie game in the 9th.
Well, the same situation he was in on Saturday night, coming in to pitch the 9th. Mets were able to rally that night, get him his first win of the year, go along with those 15 saves.
Gary Bennett, the first man up against him. Bennett is singled and walked. He even has his first stolen base in 3 years. And he takes a slider for a strike. 0-1. Bennett, who spent about a week as a Met in 2001. In fact, is a 1,000 career hitter as a Met. 1 for 1. Eric Ludwig hitting 9th in the order. Or Ryan Ludwig. Eric was his brother. Still is. He's on deck. And another slider for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Boy, that is a sharp slider. That's the best slider he's had all year.
No, he's a different pitcher, Ronnie, than he was when he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Throwing more breaking ball. Well, it's boring for those starting pitchers.
You can tease people with that ball on the string, can't you?
Yes.
0-2 to Bennett. Missed with the fastball, 1-2. Pedro used to do that, didn't he?
Yeah, what they do, they have the ball on the string, and they'll put it on top of the dugout. As the fan goes to reach for it, they pull it back.
Well, didn't Pedro have the monkey, too? Whatever his name was.
97 miles an hour, but missing, and it's 2-2.
Well, there's no question that Billy Wagner can rush it up there.
2-2 to Bennett. Chopper over the mound. Tough play for Reyes. With the catcher running, has enough time to throw him out. One away.
Well, look at Jose here at the top of the screen. Now watch him just know that he's got a slow runner. And this is how far he's come as a player. Look at him, he doesn't rush himself. He knows he has plenty of time. I can't say enough for his defense. He is just fun to watch.
So now Ryan Ludwig, whose brother Eric pitched at one time with the Florida Marlins. Ludwig, a former big prospect with Oakland. Played in the big leagues with Texas and Cleveland, but has never really blossomed. But he's gotten some playing time with all the injuries the Cardinals have had. He's hit 4 home runs this year.
And 2 of them were game winners.
Ludwig out of UNLV, now 28 years old. So Taguchi waits on deck for his rematch with Billy Wagner. Isn't that fascinating? Always seems to come down to the same thing, doesn't it? And Ludwig takes a slider, 2-0. Well, Billy's struggling a little bit with his command. Jason Isringhausen, the Cardinal closer, hoping they can get him a lead. And Ludwig takes the fastball low. Well, he's throwing hard, got that one up to 99. But now he's behind on Ludwig, 3-0.
That was a borderline knee right there. He didn't get the call. Well, he's a little upset with it.
Comes right back with heat and gets that one over. 3-1.
And that's a perfect pitch inside. Of course, Ludwig taking that pitch.
That one off and on the fists, and it's 3-2.
A little tardy there, Keith.
He got jammed on a hitter's count, 3-1, and he just came right after him inside.
Ludwig hit 28 home runs in AAA last year for Toledo. He's got long ball power. Struck him out. Upstairs with the fastball, 2 away.
Well, after missing with a couple sliders early in the count, he just reared back and got a little extra. And this ball up in the strike zone is never going to be hit. Just has too much life. And it just ties him up like a pretzel.
So now Wagner will take on Taguchi, and they both very well remember their history from the postseason last year. And Taguchi swinging at the slider, 0-1. It was game 2, tie game in the 9th. And Taguchi untied it with this unlikely home run off Billy Wagner. Mets have been leading the whole night. Spezio had tied it up, and then Taguchi gave him the lead in the 9th.
Stunning.
And they went on to score 2 more runs against Billy in that 9th inning.
And that was a fastball that Taguchi hit out last season. So what did Wagner counter with? 2 sliders.
On deck. So at the top of the batting order coming up in the bottom of the 9th. Wagner trying to keep it tied. Bounces the slider, 1-2. Hanging tough on that fastball.
Well, he had a pitch to hit earlier, hung a slider did Billy Wagner to Taguchi, and now trying to go after him with a good fastball.
The slider gets a measure of revenge. And now the Mets will try and win it in a walk-off with Reyes to lead off the bottom of the ninth.
We go to the bottom of the ninth at Shea. Mets have 5 walk-off wins this year, most recently night before last. They'll try for another one tonight. Time for the Toyota Tex poll results. Which National League Central team do you think is the greatest competition to the Mets? And overwhelmingly, you said the first place Brewers.
Well, that's a good call, because the Brewers did come in here and look very good. Of course, Prince Fielder having a great year. J.J. Hardy.
I agree with that 100%.
Jose Reyes leads off the bottom of the ninth against Ryan Franklin in a 1-1 game. And Reyes takes high, a changeup, 1-0. Franklin retired 2 hitters in a row to start to finish the 8th inning. Now he's got Reyes, Valentin, and Beltran to contend with in the bottom of the ninth. Reyes is 0 for 3 tonight. Slaps it to short. Miles has it. 1 away. Reyes, after a big day yesterday, 0 for 4 tonight.
The second baseman.
What a difference that makes in the Mets' offensive attack.
Well, any leadoff hitter with all the weapons that Reyes brings to the table. And that's the number one importance. Keep that man off the bases.
So here's Valentin, who's 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Valentin has a home run in his career against Franklin in some 21 at-bats. And he takes the slider for a strike.
You know, night before starting or pitching against the Mets, especially starting, you would spend most of your time just going through, mentally planning how you're going to get Reyes out.
Valentin takes off the plate the fastball, 1-1. To Valentin. There's nobody throwing in the Mets bullpen, so it looks as though Billy Wagner, if the Mets do not win it here in the bottom of the ninth, would go out and pitch a second inning. Mets are trying to make that unnecessary. Valentin broken back. Kennedy on a hop, and there are 2 away. So 2 out and nobody on. This year when you can't be home to watch your Mets on SNY or CW11, check out MLB.tv. Watch every out-of-market Mets game of the season live. Catch those you missed on demand or listen to every radio broadcast. Sign up today. Visit Mets.com, where baseball is always on. Well, here's Beltran with 2 out and nobody on. The Mets have not had a hit since Carlos Gomez's 3rd inning leadoff home run. 2 out last of the ninth. Beltran 0 for 3, and he takes a strike. Carlos has not had the ball out of the infield tonight. A pop up and 2 ground balls. They play him deep. No doubles. Off the outside corner, 1-1. David Wright on deck. On the ground and playing the line. Pujols was shaded perfectly, and we're going to extra innings at Shea. Ryan Franklin faces 5, retires 5. It's on to the 10th at Shea, tied at 1. In 2007, Hyundai, the Mets, and SNY are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every K the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and SNY will make a donation to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. If you'd like to help, please go to www.hopeandheroes.org. Well, we're going to the 10th inning. Billy Wagner out for a second inning of work. Now, the last time that Billy had to cool off and come out for a second inning, that was that game against the Phillies where they tried to get him a 4-out save, and Pat Burrell hit the home run.
Well, Hopefully, I was said to you, Gary, maybe if he goes an extra inning, he should go back to the bullpen. They play to enter the Sandman again, and he comes running in again.
It's all about adrenaline, right?
That's right.
Well, Aaron Miles first man up, and of course he's crucial because he got Pujols looming on deck. Miles 1 for 4 tonight as Albert stands in the on deck circle, and Miles pops the first pitch up. Reyes retreating and called off by Gomez, 1 away. So there's a big out for Wagner on just 1 pitch.
It's very interesting, isn't it, Keith, that when games are tied and late, you could always count on that first hitter, unless he's a home run hitter. Usually to take that first pitch, try to maybe get up ahead of the count, maybe work a walk, but now they're very aggressive in late inning leading off.
Well, Miles only has 8 walks on the season.
Pujols 1 for 3 tonight, and he takes inside from Wagner. Pujols 6 for 20 in his career against Wagner without a home run. And the slider in for a strike, 1-1. This is the first time since he came up in 2001 that Pujols has really struggled at all. He has been so incredibly consistent from the day he arrived in the big leagues at age 21 until this season. Now, his numbers are very respectable, but not Pujolsian.
Well, it's the first year he hasn't. It's very nicely said. I caught that. It's the first year he hasn't had the protection, and you know, when Edmonds was playing, Edmonds got put on the DL. You look at his numbers on the year, the splits.
Much better after a slow start. Wagner ahead of him 1-2. Comes inside with the fastball.
Nice
Wagner
pitch.
not throwing as hard this inning as he did in his first inning.
Yeah, but if you place it like he did right here, right up underneath the armpits of Pujols, now there's a lot of things you can do. You can go away with the fastball. You can throw a slider down and in, or repeat that fastball in if you want.
Laduca sets up inside, and he misses with the fastball, and it's 3-2.
He had Edmonds hitting behind him a lot, and the left-hand hitter. And Edmonds this year, before he got put on the DL just recently, was only hitting around 236. So it's an adjustment.
You can live with walking Pujols right here, and that's the point, I guess, with Spezio and then the pitcher's spot due up behind him. On 3-2, he swings and misses on a slider. Third strikeout for Wagner, 2 away.
Well, slider missed in. Slider back door, 1-1. Another slider right there to hit out in front, 1-2. Up and in, 2-2. Fastball tried to come in low, and then Ronnie. Wicked slider.
Well, that's what he's going to get, because you were going to not take a chance of throwing him a fastball 3-2.
You do, then you're Brad Lidge.
Yeah, and if he doesn't swing at that pitch, the worst that happens is he walks.
I don't think Lidge or anybody else will ever forget the home run Pujols hit off him in Houston.
Lidge still hasn't forgotten it.
Spezio 0 for 3 and a walk, and he gets tied up on the slider, but he held the swing in time to the satisfaction of Ted Barrett. 1-1.
Well, misses in, and this is why Wagner is so much more effective. Now, I think he's a better pitcher than he's ever been. With this slider, and he's still throwing in the mid-90s, it just, you know, another pitch, and a good one. You just can't, you know, you can't just sit on a fastball on Wagner anymore.
You know, 2 years ago when he had that finger problem in spring training, when he came back, he didn't have his good fastball. He had to get a lot of saves with his slider. That pitch has just gotten better and better since that time.
Ahead on Spezio, 1-2. Just missed the outside corner with the fastball. 2-2.
A very close pitch for Spezio to be taking. This didn't miss by much. That's a lot of guts to take that.
Fouled off Laduca, and that one hit him hard.
That's the collarbone. Oh, the clavicle.
And the fans chanting LaDuca's name. Boy, do they love his toughness.
They love his passion.
It's been a painful day for LaDuca. 2-game suspension. And now that shot off the clavicle, Dr. Hernandez.
Thank you.
Two and two to Spezio. Popped up. LaDuca sheds the mask. Side retired. 2 perfect innings from Billy Wagner. And now Wright, Delgado, and LaDuca will set about trying to win it in the bottom of the 10th. David Wright will lead off in the bottom of the 10th inning, hoping to accomplish what he did on Saturday night. Travis Buck with the dive. Wright with the game-winning hit. And trotted all the way to second to get credit for a double. Castro got poked in the eye. I asked Ramon who poked him. He said Reyes. Actually, he said Reyes or Gomez, and Gomez said Reyes. Well, David has had an interesting night. He's 0 for 2 at the plate. Reached on the air by Pujols his last time up, then got picked off by Maroth, and then had quite an extended tete-a-tete with his manager in the dugout about that pickoff.
Well, this is the benefits of having a guy who made 3 straight years with Seattle of 30 or more starts. Franklin, you can extend him some extra innings.
He's faced 5 and retired 5. And he throws a slider that misses to right, 1-0. Carlos Delgado on deck, and then Paul LaDuca.
I think La Russa's playing the hot hand here. Franklin has good stuff tonight.
On the ground is short, and Miles right in front of it. Wide throw, but Wright is out. And that's 6 in a row retired by Franklin, and the Mets still don't have a hit since the 3rd inning. They've had only 2 hits tonight. Delgado has 1 of the 2. He singled to left center back in the 2nd. His 35th birthday, what better time to end a game?
That's a very nice thought, Gary.
Like providing yourself with your own birthday present.
Absolutely.
And 40-some thousand others.
Yes.
As Aaron Heilman gets ready in the Mets bullpen. Wagner has pitched his 2 innings, so the Mets have spent their closer. Cardinals holding theirs in reserve, as you do when you're on the road, because you can have a save situation on the road. You can't at home once you get a tie game to the 9th inning. Delgado fouls it away. Carlos has done well against Franklin in the past. 5 hits and 11 career at bats. Keith, when you were home on the couch, were you clapping along with this?
I could hear it from my couch. I wasn't clapping, though.
1-1 to Delgado. The Mets have had 5 walk-off wins this year. Delgado's had the game-winning RBI in 3 of them. Broken bat bloop. Spezio retreats. 2 away. Well, Franklin has been dominant.
That is just a cutter on his hands. It looked like it sailed in, Ron.
Yeah, you're right with that call, too. That is a cutter working its way in towards Delgado. Tries to fight it off.
So Franklin has faced 7 batters. The Mets have not hit the ball out of the infield. And now LaDuca with 2 out and nobody on after getting plunked on the collarbone by a foul ball just moments ago. And he takes a fastball for a strike. LaDuca 0 for 3 tonight. Hit the ball hard as last time up, lining out to Duncan in left field. Braves snap a 5-game losing streak tonight. Philadelphia and Florida both off tonight. Phillies will host Cincinnati tomorrow. The Marlins will be home to play Pittsburgh. Duca with a big cut at a fastball, and it's 0-2. That was his game-ending swing.
Well, that's a two-seamer from Franklin. Sinker running down and in.
Tony La Russa's team has been shorthanded, but they've been holding their own. And again tonight. 1-2 to La Duca. Mets are playing their 6th extra inning game of the year. They've won 3 and lost 2. Cardinals are 4-1 in extra innings. Duca fouls it off. So funny how this game works, isn't it? The Mets had their offense going on all cylinders Friday. They barely scratched out a run Saturday, scored 10 runs yesterday, and here they've managed just 2 hits over almost 10 innings tonight.
There's Mr. Eckstein.
David Eckstein on the disabled list. Duca takes in the dirt, and it's 2-2. Eckstein and Edmonds and Molina.
Oh man,
all on the disabled list. Not to mention Carpenter and Mulder.
Preston Wilson.
Wilson's out for the year.
And Looper.
Yeah, Looper will be back. I talked to Braden tonight. He said he plans to pitch next Monday night. There's Braden. Already pitching more innings this year than he ever has before, starting for the first time.
When he was their best starter.
Yep.
Most consistent anyways this year.
Well, tomorrow the Mets will face Todd Wellmeyer. Wednesday they'll face Anthony Reyes, who's been making like Anthony Young.
0-9.
Got a ways to catch Young, though. He lost 27 in a row. On the ground to Pujols, and we'll move to the 11th inning as Franklin just dominant over his 2 2/3 innings. Aaron Heilman will come on to pitch the 11th for the Mets. Tomorrow night, Oliver Perez will go to the mound against Todd Wellmeyer. Tom Glavine tries for win number 297 Wednesday night against 0-9 Anthony Reyes. And then El Duque, off his strong performance Saturday night, will go up against Adam Wainwright. Him. The guy who ended it all for the Mets last year.
Him with a curveball.
Yep. Aaron Heilman on to pitch the 11th.
Well, Aaron Heilman's been throwing great of late. Saturday got 2 big outs in that 1-0 game. Batting average against, outstanding against the right-handers, outstanding overall, 208.
Well, Aaron's just been hurt with giving up the long ball this year. That's where he's been hurt.
5, I believe. 5 home runs he's given up.
Skip Schumacher will be the pinch hitter, just called back up from the minors the other day when Jim Edmonds went on the disabled list. It'll be Schumacher, then Juan Encarnacion and Adam Kennedy, left, right, and left for the Cardinals here in the 11th. Met pitchers have combined to retire the last 10 in a row. Feliciano got all 4 that he faced, and Wagner retired 6 in a row. Meanwhile, Ryan Franklin on the other side has retired 8 straight. So there's not been a whole lot of hitting in this game in the late innings. And Schumacher rifles the first one foul. Jorge Sosa started for the Mets, went 6 innings, allowed a run on 6 hits. Joe Smith 2/3 of an inning, no runs, 1 hit. Feliciano got a huge out in the 7th. As you look at Russ Springer up in the Cardinal bullpen. And then Feliciano pitched a 1-2-3/8 before Wagner went the 9th and 10th perfectly. Schumacher grounds one to Valentin. And there's 1 out. So 1 out and nobody on. And now Encarnacion, who hit that comebacker to Feliciano in the 8th that hit him right in the midsection. And then Pedro was able to throw him out.
So that's got to keep the ball down on Encarnacion. He likes that ball up in the strike zone.
Heilman has done very well against Encarnacion, who's just 2 for 16 against him. He bloops this one shallow right. That'll fall for a hit. So a little duck snort to right field for Encarnacion.
Duck snort?
Yes. Isn't that what you call it?
Well, I got a better term, but we can't use it on.
That's exactly right.
On television.
Second
You
baseman
adapt.
Adam Kennedy.
Well, he gets jammed right there, big time. Inside out, and just nice little wedge.
8th hit of the game for the Cardinals, and so the tie-breaking run at first with 1 out. And here's Adam Kennedy, 1 for 4, singled and scored the lone Cardinal run back in the 5th. Kennedy takes a changeup off the plate, 1-0.
David Wright in at the corner, playing at the edge of the grass.
Kennedy taking a long look down at Jose Oquendo. Would they play hit and run here?
We've already tried it once tonight.
It's tough doing it with a guy hitting 200.
Encarnacion not a base stealer at this point in his career. In fact, he hasn't attempted one all year. And the Cardinals steal very few bases. In fact, they're last in the National League in steals. Only 21 stolen bases in 72 games. So they don't hit many home runs. They don't steal many bases. They're last in the league in triples, second to last in doubles. Their pitching is at the bottom of the league, and yet they're only 6 games under 500. Could be a whole lot worse. Change up in for a strike. And a lot of it goes to that man. He just finds ways to scratch out wins.
He's been successful everywhere he's been. White Sox, Oakland.
Encarnacion back easily. Well, La Russa has done it all. Now in his 12th year with the Cardinals. Won World Series with the A's and with St. Louis. Swings over the changeup, and it's 1-2. He's got a long swing, doesn't he, Keith?
Yeah, and he's a little guy, and he's got an uppercut too, and it's just a big. Someone like him's got to be short and hit line drives, be a hit and run guy, but they don't hit and run anymore.
Gary Bennett, the number 8 hitter, on deck. 1-2 to Kennedy. Struck him out with a changeup. So they're a 2-man down. First strikeout for Heilman. That's 11 tonight for Met pitching.
Well, good changeup away. Looks like Kennedy trying to pull this ball. Trying to chase it in that hole. Hard ball to pull there. Good pitch by Heilman.
Completely fooled. It's been a tough year for him. Nice number, though.
You love those 7s. Here's Gary Bennett. Anybody won 37 with the Cardinals since?
Yes, Ember Suppan when he got picked off in that World Series at third base, whatever the heck he did.
That's the first thing you saw, isn't it? Was his 37 on his back.
So, thank goodness that wasn't me.
Gary Bennett 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. Encarnacion at first with 2 down. 1-1 game in the 11th. Bennett is technically the #1 catcher right now with Molina on the DL, but Kelly Stinnett, whom they brought in, who was kind of unofficially retired after he was with the Mets briefly last year, has actually played more in the last week than Bennett has. Molina should be back fairly soon. And Bennett takes wide, and it's 2-0. Got Ludwig hitting in the 9 spot on deck. A dangerous guy. This is the guy that Heilman needs to get out.
Well, every hitter gets better on a 2-0 count, but I've seen Gary Bennett many times when he knows a fastball is coming, knows how to turn it up, start a little early.
Has 1 home run this year. 2-0 fastball, and he couldn't catch up to that. 2-1.
Oh, Heilman's doing some grunting and groaning out there, isn't he, as he puts a little extra on that fastball up and away from Bennett.
It's like a tennis player on the backhand.
Yeah.
Another good fastball up in the zone, and it's 2-2.
Well, you can see Bennett does not like the high fastball. Just 2 pitches, a little above the belt, swinging right through it.
Two and 2 to Bennett. And now a full count, and that'll send Encarnacion on his way.
And Heilman's feeling his oats tonight. He's throwing hard, Ronnie.
Yep.
93 miles an hour. He's got some giddy up on that fastball.
Encarnacion gets set to run. Struck him out with a changeup.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Aaron Heilman. Mets will come up in the bottom of the 11th inning with Green and Gomez looking to get it done. Tied at 1.
Only the diehards stay to the 11th inning. Nice
Your attention, please.
summer night at Shea Stadium. A little overtime. Met fans hoping for a walk-off win. Rick Van Winkle is with us. Check your schedule. See whether this game will bleed into tomorrow night. And ready yourself for the bottom of the 11th. With Russ Springer, the veteran, on to pitch for the Cardinals.
Well, 38-year-old veteran Russ Springer. A great batting average against. Well, he's having a great year in that bullpen for St. Louis. Only 19 hits and 27 1/3 innings pitched. He's only given up a run in 1 game out of his last 10 appearances.
Shawn Green will lead it off in the bottom of the 11th. Shawn is 0 for 3 tonight. 1 for 10 in his career against Springer, but that 1 was a home run. He takes inside.
Well, Springer has always been real tough on right-hand hitters. And you see Gomez in the on-deck circle. Technically, he's not in the little on-deck circle. You're supposed to be in there, but if you can get away with it, you get further down the line, get an angle, a better angle, you get a look at what the pitcher's throwing.
Nobody actually stands in that circle, do they?
I used to.
On the circle itself?
Yes.
Because he used to kneel down. Remember,
Yeah,
you'd start by kneeling down and putting all the pine tar in your bat.
That circle's so gunky, though, with all the pine tar and rosin and everything.
It's good to get down there.
He was the king. The bat boys would sweep it off before he got there.
And Green takes a strike, 2-1.
Well, you know, everybody that young Gomez faces is a new adventure for him. He's not faced these pitchers. It's all brand new for him. So pay attention, look and see what he's got. See if you can gauge his fastball.
Green hits one in the air deep down the right field line, hooking toward the foul pole. In the corner, it goes foul.
Just got a little ahead of it.
This is not a bad pitch. And that ball just, boy, it had enough, I think. It was a cutter in. Good pitch. He just got the barrel out there, Ronnie.
Wow.
Might have been looking in. He knows right away. He knows.
Missed by that much. Two to Shawn. In tight with the fastball. 3-2. Shawn would love to hit a game-winning home run, but he'd settle for getting on base here to start the bottom of the 11th. Mets haven't had a base runner since the 7th. They haven't had a hit since the 3rd. Those guys have done their job tonight.
Three and two, hit the deep right field. Forget it. He just missed earlier in the at-bat, but he didn't miss that one. The Mets' sixth walk-off win, their second in 3 days, as Green crushes one off the scoreboard, and the Mets win it 2-1.
Well, Springer just throws a fastball and just bleeds back out over the middle and down right in the wheelhouse, Ron.
And didn't throw him anything but fastballs, all in about that location. Green finally figured it out.
Nice swing. He knows he's got that one.
And humble and unassuming. No throwing of the bat for the veteran Green.
410 feet off the scoreboard. Shawn Green's second career walk-off home run, and there was not a doubt from the moment it left the bat.
And by the way, these celebrations at home plate are becoming dangerous.
Painful. Well, fresh from his pummeling, Shawn Green is standing by with Kevin Burkhardt.
Shawn, you know, that was a shot. It's very often, you don't see very often you hit a home run foul and then hit a home run fair. Did you size up Springer there?
Well, I was watching Carlos Gomez. He did earlier in the game and hit the one foul and then hit the home run. So, no, I mean, he threw me a cutter 2-0. I decided to take a pitch and try to, you know, make him work to try to get on base and maybe work a walk, and he threw it right there. And I was, you know, kind of frustrated after that, but 3-2, I got the same pitch.
What's your mentality there? Are you thinking go up here and take a big cut and try and win it with a big cut before you really settle in?
I mean, it's kind of a mix. I wanted to make him throw some pitches and hopefully take a walk. And once he threw that strike, then I'm trying to, you know, hit a ball hard, you know, gap or whatever, and just get on base.
How good do you feel? You just seem so comfortable in your own skin right now, whether it's going the other way, whether it's hitting for power when they come. How do you feel at the plate?
I feel pretty good. It felt good, obviously, to get that one. Early in the game, I just missed a ball to left, so that's frustrating. But to come back and get the win is all that matters.
Seemed like an awful long time between hits tonight, but I guess you'll take this one, huh?
Yeah, we'll take it.
Shawn, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, guys, let's go back up to you.
Well, the Mets only had 3 hits tonight, but 2 of them left the yard. Carlos Gomez in the third, and then the Mets didn't get their next hit until Shawn Green leading off the bottom of the 11th inning as he crushed one to give the Mets the 2-1 win in 11 innings, their 4th straight win, and now a 3.5-game lead in the National League East, and everybody in the ballpark knew immediately.
Well, they're big wins when they're wins like this.
And isn't that how you get on a roll, Keith, and win some games in a row? You face a tough pitcher like Maroth, some good relief pitching from Franklin, and you kind of wait it out and you squeeze a couple of solo home runs, not much else, and still get a win.
Well, the games when you're out hit 8-3, and the other club leaves 10 men on base, and you only leave 2 on base because you didn't have any opportunities to come out a winner, you feel good about it.
It's the first home run Russ Springer has allowed this season. And the treatment awaited Shawn Green at home plate.
This is dangerous, I'm telling you.
Duck your head and wait for the pummeling.
At some point it becomes a rugby scrum.
Well, here's your out of game summary. Aaron Heilman gets his 6th relief win of the season. Shawn Green with the walk-off home run, the Mets' 6th walk-off win of the year. Mike Maroth pitched extremely well in his National League debut, but not enough as the Mets get great relief work out of Feliciano, Wagner, and Heilman, and they win it 2-1 in 11. Coming up tonight on Nissan, after Nissan postgame live, it's Geico Sports Night. We'll go in the Mets clubhouse. The Yankees lick their wounds on their off day, and a check-in with the Knicks, all coming up on Geico Sports Night. Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Nissan and the next generation Nissan Altima. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. By Hummer, visit Hummer.com to check out the H3 Hummer like nothing else. And by IO Digital Cable, the leaders in HD and presenting sponsor of the Mets in high definition. The UC in HD. Mets on a roll now, their 4th straight win as they beat the Cardinals in 11 2-1 on Shawn Green's walk-off home run. Mets will try and make it 2 straight over the Cardinals tomorrow night with Oliver Perez on the mound. 7 o'clock here on SNY. Coming up next, it's Nissan post-game live with Matt Yaloff and Lee Mazzilli. Well, Shawn Green had hit one foul earlier in the at-bat off Russ Springer, who had not hit a home run, given up a home run all year. But Green bunts one off the scoreboard 410 feet away, and the Mets win it in 11, 2-1. Now for Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez, and Kevin Burkhardt, I'm Gary Cohen saying so long from Shea.
So the Mets are back to 10 games over 500. Their win streak is alive at a modest 4 games. This is Nissan Postgame Live with Lee Mazzilli. I'm Matt Yoloff. We'll get to Ron and Keith in the booth in a minute, and Kevin Burkhardt's roaming the Mets locker room. He'll get reaction following this dramatic win. 3 hits in the game. You come away with a win. Team's got to be feeling pretty good about itself that they can do that following a thrashing, then they come back and they don't hit, and they're still winning.
Yeah, and they did that against Oakland when they won 1-0, and they came back out and they blew them away. Then you come back tonight and you get 3 hits. I think right now the Mets feel pretty good about themselves. It seems like they can play both sides of the game, play the 1 or 2-0 games and have the blowout games. They have the hitting to do that, and now the pitching is showing that it can stay up with him.
All right, let's join Keith and Ron right now at Shea Stadium. Hello, guys, and Keith, welcome back officially from the folks here in the studio. Let's talk about the piece of hitting by Shawn Green there. A 2-0 pitch, very hittable, let it go. He told Kevin Burkhardt he was frustrated by that. But how about his ability to hit a foul home run and then come back and hit one that's fair?
Well, he was behind the count, too, and Springer, who's been tough all year and hasn't given up a home run, just got a fastball, tried to go away with a fastball, and it came out over the middle and down in the zone where Shawn likes it. All left-handers are low ball hitters, and give him credit. You know, it's very unusual to see someone pull a home run foul, then come back and hit a home run.
Yeah, and we saw that twice in this game. I think Gomez did that earlier, so we'll get to Gomez in a second here. But the pen really needs to get a huge amount of credit, Ronnie, for this win. And Billy Wagner's 2 innings of work hasn't pitched a whole lot lately. Do you think he would welcome the 2 innings? Do you think he would say that he was totally on board with that?
Well, the thing I love about Billy Wagner is he's a team player. He'll do whatever it takes to help the team win. 5 innings of relief for the pen today, no runs. I thought that Feliciano did an outstanding job coming in, and then Wagner was overpowering today. 12 punch-outs by Mets pitching today. And I think also not only the relief effort, I think after a couple of shaky starts, Jorge Sosa did a great job. Only 1 run and 6 innings of work, 5 punch-outs. So nice job by the entire Mets pitching staff just to keep them in the game. You know, the 1-0 game that they won on Saturday night, they didn't really play a real sound game. They played a really sound game today with good pitching.
Yeah, Ronnie, talking about Sosa right there. I know, to me, against the left-handed batters, he threw a lot of backdoor sliders. Now, was that by design? Because you know, as a pitcher, a backdoor slider really can mean trouble if you miss.
Yeah, it can, but I think for Sosa, what happens, I think, what he brings out of the bullpen and out to the game, if he's got a particular slider working, he'll stay with it. If he's got the backdoor slider working, he's getting the calls from the home plate umpire, Angel Hernandez, he'll keep going to the well until the St. Louis hitters prove to him that they can hit that pitch. They weren't able to do that in his 6 innings of work.
Yeah, now, is his whole game kind of changed since he went to Atlanta and came here? Seems like he's got away from his fastball. I mean, we know he can throw 95 or 100 miles an hour. It really doesn't matter if that's the only pitch you have. But it really seems like he's really gone to secondary pitches to be more successful.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting with Jorge Sosa. He has more command of his slider, really, than he has of his fastball, and that's usually backwards for any pitcher. I think that for him, though, he could pitch a lot like El Duque. He's got such a great slider, great control of it, that he could use his fastball more when he gets ahead of hitters. But right now, just employing mostly sliders seems to be the game plan for him that is working, and he's keeping the ball in the ballpark. That's something that's always been a problem for him. So nice effort by Sosa.
Hey, it would look to me, Keith, from a hitter's perspective, then I want to hear Ronnie's take from a pitching perspective. Mike Maroth, for a player to be named, it seems like an odd deal when you watched him tonight. Just give us your assessment of where Maroth is right now in his career.
Well, you know, he's going to be 30 years old in August, and so he's been around, and he's had some tough lumps over there in the American League with Detroit. He lost 21 games a couple years ago. You know, he's not someone that's going to wow you. He's not overpowering, and you don't have to be to get people out. I thought he mixed his pitches up. He had the slider,
He changed speeds with the slider, had a very good changeup, and he spotted his fastball. And he didn't get stuck on one pitch or fall in love with one pitch. He was in and out and mixed his pitches up the whole entire game, and really just kept the Met hitters off balance.
Ronnie, what did you like about what you saw tonight?
Well, I think what happens a lot of times with crafty pitchers, if they change leagues, it can really help them. Getting him out of the American League will definitely help. And also, don't forget that Tony La Russa and Jim Leyritz, his manager of the Detroit Tigers, are best friends. So I'm sure the trade was made with La Russa giving a call to Jimmy Leyland and saying, hey, Jimmy, can this guy still pitch? Can he help me here in St. Louis? And I'm sure the answer was yes. But Marath was outstanding. Like Keith said, he mixed up his pitches really well, and he went after the Met hitters. He wasn't walking people. He wasn't, he had a nice pitch count, and he got deep into the game, something you always want your starter to do.
Hey, finally, this Gomez feeling his way, Keith. Not a power hitter, 6'4", 200 pounds. He's a strapping build, but not a power guy. Do you ever think that there's a danger when a young guy experiences and enjoys some power that he may change what he's doing that got him to this level?
Well, you don't want him to fall in love with a home run. That's the one thing that'll get you into a slump real quick. And I don't think it's going to happen with him right now. He's just still feeling his way through right now. He's got that fastball out over the plate, and he crushed that ball. But basically, he's going to be a doubles, triples guy. He can fly. He's got to do the little things. He can bunt, and that's what's, I think, is the reason why he's here. He's number one. He's not a liability in the field. He is a plus defensively in the field. He gives Willie a weapon off the bench as far as a pinch runner if he needs to use him. And if he just hits line drives, learns to hit and run, bunt, drag bunt here and there, and the home runs, if he hit 10 or 12, he'll have a long career.
All right, we thank you. Keith and Ron at Shea Stadium, guys. Safe home. And we continue on here with Maz, Lee Mazzilli. Let's talk more about Gomez. Not so much the home run, but what we saw after the foul ball, and then what we saw after the home run, and the trot, and the this and the that. I want your take on this and how you would deal with this if you're sitting on that bench.
Well, it's a young kid, obviously. He wants to hit a home run. He feels pretty good. Hit one foul. He's got a big chip on his shoulder right there. And the next pitch, he hits out of the ballpark, and he kind of just watches a little bit. You know why that comes from? A little bit of inexperience, a little bit. I think also, if you look at it right here after the home run, Willie's going to sit down and really kind of say, hey, son, you can't do this right now.
And you think that's what was going on there?
Yeah,
you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think Willie was talking about that because, when a young kid really, he doesn't know the danger of who's hitting behind him, who's going to get hit, later on in the game. So Willie's probably just give him a little tip right there. If you hit the ball, run it out.
Yeah, it's interesting because last year we saw Lastings Millage do some things at this level that people didn't exactly embrace. So you may want to nip this in the bud.
Yeah, but you know what, Matt? It's good. It happened. Let's say, hey, listen, you're all proud to hit a home run in the big leagues if you can. Your first couple, you don't know if you can hit them. Hey, I feel pretty good right now. But you know what? The kids learn. It's not something that's going to just take away from the team or anything. Take away from the team. It happened. Willie said something to him. He's going to go on, and I bet you he just hustles all the time.
All right, turning point of the game. Oh, by the way, I didn't point this out. You called the Shawn Green home run. I forgot. If I had called it, it would have been the first thing I mentioned. You called that home run sitting right here. So take my word for it. He called it. Game over. How about the turning point in this game? Where was it and what was it?
Well, for me, the turning point was the 7th inning when Joe Smith came in the game. I think, they got a base hit. The pitcher got a base hit, and and had a double steal, and had second and third and no outs, and he got two. He got the ground ball from Gucci, and then we got the strikeout, and then Feliciano came in, and they kind of shut him down. I think the Cardinals had a chance really to break the game open right there, so I think the bullpen really kind of turned that game around right there and kept the Mets in the game. Tie ball game.
All right, we're going to take our first break here on Nissan Post Game Live. We will go inside the game, and when we come back, highlights from this extra inning affair, plus reaction later on from Willie Randolph and the team. The Mets have won 4 in a row. They're back to 500. The lead in the NL East, 3.5 games. Maz and I return after this.
Nissan Post Game Live is presented in high definition by IO Digital Cable, the leader in HD. Do you see an HD?
All right, we're going inside the game. Lee Mazzilli, Matt Yaloff here. Mets and Cardinals, game 1 of 4. Jorge Sosa getting the start, looking for his 7th win of the year, coming off of 2 subpar outings. First inning, Aaron Miles, the shot to first. Carlos Delgado can't handle it, did stop it, but can't handle it. And Miles is on. That's an infield single. Albert Pujols next, up the middle, and nice way to snuff out a base hit, hit into a tailor-made double play. Bottom second, no score. Mike Maroff, Cardinals debut, coming over from the Tigers in a trade. Carlos Delgado on his 35th birthday drops one in. First hit of the game for the Mets, and there weren't a whole lot of them. Delgado on, Paul LaDuca. That's a force out at second, and LaDuca beats that one to first base. We'll talk about LaDuca's suspension in just a bit. Shawn Green grounds out to end the inning, so nothing doing after 2. Into the 3rd we go. The Mets get on the board. Look out. Carlos Gomez turns that Maroff fastball around. Was that a fastball?
Fastball, 2-2 count. I'm surprised. He couldn't get the ball in at all, but the kid launched on that one.
Yeah, he did. Second home run of the year. It's a 1-0 Mets lead. 4th inning, Pujols for the base hit. But Spezio goes down, yeah, and then Duncan swinging, and then Juan Encarnacion with the runner still on first, pops out, and that's it. So the Mets holding on to that 1-0 lead. In the 5th, the Cardinals get something going. Adam Kennedy, with just a down year numbers-wise, is on with the shot off Sosa's leg. Gary Bennett is next, and Gary Bennett, this is the bottom of the order here for the Cardinals. Shot to right, 2 on, nobody out. Mike Maroff, and that is done in National League style, Maz. Lays it down. Both runners advance, so they're in business.
No, that's Tony La Russa. He plays, run him over and get him in.
Yep, not a whole lot of power on this team, so Taguchi with the ground ball. It's not sexy, but it worked. It's a tie game at 1. 6th inning, Scott Spezio walks Chris Duncan down the left field line, and that finds some green. 2 men on. Juan Encarnacion flies out, and then Adam Kennedy to deep center field, and Carlos Beltran takes care of business. Sosa, 6 innings, just 1 run. Very, very solid. 7th inning, Joe Smith in, walks Gary Bennett to start the inning. That's your 8-hitter. And then Mike Maroff with the Mets in for the bunt. How about that?
Yeah, good play right there. Shake it up a little bit.
6 career hits for Mike Maroff. So Taguchi is up, and the double steal is on, and LaDuca doesn't even get the throw off. So it's 2 guys in scoring position, and this was the turning point as they get Taguchi on the ground ball with the infield in, and then Miles swinging there.
It was just a slider that he threw that it never really broke. Stayed up in the zone.
It was a horrible swing on the ball, and this is it. Feliciano comes in to get the 3rd out, and he does. Spezio grounds back, and Manuel and Randolph, they're happy. They should be. This is David Wright grounding out to Scott Spezio. Nice little play there, but that's snuffed out by that. That's the pickoff. That was an error, by the way, on Pujols that allowed Wright to get on, but we'll talk pickoffs in a bit. Billy Wagner dealing here in the 9th inning. Just looking real sharp. Goes 2 innings in this game.
Yeah, and he had a good slider working tonight as well. 97, 96, 97.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, Billy Wagner, they talked about it during the game, right? When that slider's working, he's nearly impossible if he's dropping off 10, 12 miles an hour from the fastball, whatever it is there, and 2 perfect innings of work. 11th inning, Shawn Green leading off in relief, and this one down the right field line, and it has the distance, maybe. It doesn't have the direction, so it's a foul ball, and he comes right back. 3-2 pitch.
Matt, if you look where this ball ends, that's a long way. That hit up on the black of that scoreboard. That's a long way.
That is a long way. And Shawn Green, you know what? He's been known to hit a home run or 2 in his day.
Yes,
that's your walk-off doozy. 2-1 is your final score. Shawn Green connects. And, a week ago we're saying what's wrong. Now we're saying what's right, Maz, because it's 4 wins in a row. And Carlos Delgado on his 35th birthday has a hit in this game. Only 3 for the Mets total in 11 innings. And you made the point that this was not a pitcher, Maroff, that the Mets would enjoy hitting. Does anyone enjoy hitting against a guy like Maroff?
No, I don't think so. I think the Mets are a team that are a fastball ball club. That, I mean, like, you can't throw the ball hard enough for that team. They like the fastball. And, you get guys, especially left-handers, that take a little bit off, change speeds, go in and out. You don't see that a lot. And they have trouble against guys like that.
And speaking of Maroth and being a left-hander, he had the pickoff move working tonight. The Mets really haven't seen this guy, and they fell for whatever he was selling. They were buying it. Yeah. He was selling it. Talk about the pickoffs twice.
Twice. And he's had a lot of pickoffs. I think 20-something in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, here's a guy that, as a left-hander pitcher, you just don't get a chance to see him enough. Obviously, he was in the American League, but it's almost like you got guys like Steve Carlton that used to do with the Phillies, and Andy Pettit with the Yankees as well. I mean, most left-handers, base runners, what they're doing, Matty, is that they're really guessing on that, and they really are. They're guessing because as a left-handed pitcher, as opposed to a right-handed pitcher, you're moving on first movement. With a left-hander on the mound, you can't move first movement because the left-hander could, what they call is they get the leg up and then they freeze you is what they do. So it's more or less that you're just guessing on a left-hander more so than a right-hander. And then with Maroth, I mean, he just has such a good move. And same thing as Jamie Moy on the left-hander. So the guys just didn't guess right tonight, and Maroth did.
Yeah, and then we saw Willie Randolph talking at length with David Wright following that pickoff. Is that teaching within the game?
Yes, absolutely. And what happens a lot of times is, you'll give a sign to go on first movement. Willie may give a sign if it's maybe, let's say it's a 1 and 2 count. He'll give him a first movement sign, which means as soon as the pitcher makes a move with anything he does, you're taking off. And what you're trying to do is guess. You're going to guess that he's going to throw to the plate and maybe get away with it right there.
All right, we're going to take another break here on Nissan Postgame Live. We're waiting for Willie Randolph's comments. You will hear them when we receive them. And other reaction from the Mets as they beat the Cardinals in Game 1 of a 4-game set. Geico Sports Night follows this program. We'll get a preview of that as well as we roll on here on a Monday night in New York City.
Hi, I'm Tom Glavine of the New York Mets. Welcome to Citi Field, where New York's union carpenters and contractors are building our new home.
As a union carpenter, I can support my family and take part in building historic projects in New York. My family's proud of me, and we are blessed with a solid future.
New York's home team is the union carpenters and contractors who build quality projects, practice safety, and provide opportunity for New Yorkers. Look up and look around your community. Union carpenters and contractors are building the future. New York's union carpenters and contractors bring it home for New York.
3-2, hit the deep right field. Forget it. That ball's out of here, and the Mets win it. Shawn Green off the scoreboard, his 7th home run of the year.
Well, that's how it ended just a short while ago. Shawn Green, the 3rd Mets hit of the night, turns out to be the game-winning hit. Lee Mazzilli, Matt Yaloff here on Nissan Postgame Live. Reaction trickling in from Shea Stadium now. We're going to start off with Willie Randolph, who addressed this victory by first talking about his starting pitcher, Jorge Sosa.
Great job by Sosa. Kept us in the game, and the bullpen was outstanding, lights out. Smith comes in, going with Feliciano, gets out of a 3rd and 2nd no-out situation. Billy gives us a couple innings, and Aaron finished up strong. So we needed it tonight. We didn't do much on the offensive end. So that's when you got to have the pitching, and they stepped up tonight. Great job of the bully and Sosa.
Willie, does Green look just comfortable in his own skin this year? I mean, we know he had the swing changes in the offseason, but it just seems like he's almost found himself. Is that accurate?
I don't know about that. I mean, he's just, he's always been a good hitter, and I'm sure he's a lot more comfortable this year. But, he got to a nice start, and he's getting some big hits for us. Before he hurt his foot, he was probably our most consistent hitter, along with Jose and a few other guys that got off to good starts. But hopefully he's getting back in the rhythm right now. He probably came back a little slow, but big hit tonight for him, and we need him to be consistent like that. When you have a quality hitter and in the lineup like that, 6th or 7th, and he comes through with big hits like that, that's huge. So.
Well, do you think a lack of familiarity with Maroth contributed to his success tonight, or?
I don't know. I mean, I think more than anything, you got to make adjustments at your approach more than anything. I didn't think, after the first 4 or 5 innings, at least 3 or 4 innings, you got to recognize what he's doing to you or whatever. And I didn't think we did too good of a job of making some adjustments. I mean, you know, he's not going to trick you with too much. He used his cutter pretty well and change-ups off his sinker. But, you know, sometimes, you know, I mean, that's the way players are. I mean, they trip out and stuff like that. We talked about that many times, but I thought we could have had some better at-bats against him. But, you know, give him credit. He threw the ball well. I think it was his first start for them, right? So I'm sure he was pumped up. You know, he's been a good pitcher at times in the American League, and he knows how to pitch. So hopefully next time around we see him again, you know, we'll have better at-bats against him.
When he's throwing like that, and you guys aren't getting good swings off of him, are you always hoping for just that one mistake, that one big swing, thinking that that's probably what it's going to take?
Well, you know, you don't want to take that approach. I mean, you want to try to put something together. A guy like him, you don't want to try to go up and try to look for one swing. But, you know, if you take little bites like we like to do and just, you know, kind of just put the ball in play, you can do things like that too. So, you know, again, you give him credit. He threw the ball well. You know, but our pitching was outstanding. I ready to talk about our pitching. We did a great job, and the bullpen came up big tonight, and everyone contributed. You know, and Wagner taking the ball for 2 innings was huge for us. He had an easy first inning, so we went back out, and we hung in there until we got the big hit by Shawn.
What did you see in Sosa today that you didn't see the last time or two?
You know, I didn't think it was his best outing. I mean, you know, he threw, you know, he kept us in the game, but he kind of struggled through a little bit. He made some pitches when he had to. You know, there was nothing real different from what he pitched last time. I mean, as far as his stuff, it just when he hits his spots, he's just more effective. That's all. But you know, he hung in there good for us. I mean, again, he threw a lot of pitches and stuff. I wanted to kind of keep him in there, but I thought he was struggling a little bit at the end. So he did his job. He kept us in the game, and you know, he'll get the ball next time out again. He's done a nice job for us, so keep him going.
Well, was the lack of familiarity with Marath, can that translate onto the base path, getting picked off twice when you don't know a guy's move over to first base too?
Just a move. I mean, you know, most lefties balk anyway. So I mean, you know, that's you know, we were just a little too overly aggressive. That's all. I mean, he went first move and he got picked, so it wasn't anything to do with his move per se.
Well, in the seventh inning, you guys wiggle out of a tough spot, second and third, nobody out. So Pedro's gotten so many big outs this year. Can you talk about Pedro Feliciano?
Yeah, well, got to mention Feliciano. Came in and got a short out for us, but he, I like the matchup with him against Spezio's flipping him around, and he pounded the zone and got a ground ball back to him. So, you know, he's been great all year for us, and Pedro's been a guy you can rely on, lefty or righty. He wants his sinkers down the zone, and he threw a nice sinker down, and you know, got the ground ball he wanted. But he's been solid for us all year, Pedro has.
All right, that's Willie Randolph. Mentioned the pitching and Billy Wagner's 2 innings of work, and he was sharp. 2 innings, 3 strikeouts, 2 perfect innings. Hasn't had a whole lot of work lately, but tonight he was dead on, and he was asked after the game if he thought maybe tonight was his best performance of the season.
Was this one of the best performances you think you've had this year? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Did you feel pretty good out there? No. I actually thought I was hanging sliders, and everybody kept going, them are nasty. So I was like, whatever. You know, I mean, as long as you get people out, it's a good performance. So, I mean, you know, at this stage in the game, it's not about how you're doing it as long as you're getting it done. And, you know, tonight was one of those nights that I got some guys that swing at some pitches. It's pretty big sequence against Ludwig. Got behind him 3-0, and then to come back and get that out. I feel that was pretty big right there. Of course. I mean, anytime they get somebody on base, it opens the door for something to happen. A jam shot down the line, the guy's running on the play, you know, opens the game up. So, you know, you want to go right at him, make him swing the bat, and you know, I was able to come back and make a few pitches, and you know, that's how you have to have. You got to have that to have winning baseball.
Billy, I know you personally have a lot of appreciation for Feliciano. How big was him to come in that?
Well, I mean, it just tells you how important. If we don't have him right now in that spot, you know, we probably don't win that game. He has pitched above and beyond, and I mean, and I don't think it's that it's unexpected. I just think that he is, you know, he's the best pitcher in our bullpen by far. I mean, he's put in a lot tougher role situations, and he's in a tougher role than any of us, and he goes out there nightly and it comes through. I mean, he's just he's fun to watch right now.
And it isn't lefties anymore with him. The righties are having a tough time with him as well.
Well, he's got a lot of confidence right now, and that's good. I mean, he understands his role. He understands what he's supposed to do. His mechanics are sound right now, and when it is, he's able to go out there and make those pitches.
Billy, what's been the biggest difference the last? I mean, it's 4 wins, but what's been the biggest difference? Are things just kind of clicked in a little bit?
Well, I think for the most part, it's pitchers have went out there and kept the game close. Tie games, we kept them close to our offense. Has got a spark. Offense has carried us in some games, and but it goes back to pitching. We've kept the other team down to where it's not insurmountable to have a rally, and we've pitched some good ball games, but the offense has had good games too.
You got to have that back end of the pen. I mean, he's praising Feliciano. The other guys praise Wagner. That helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it helps. I mean, how can you not like Billy Wagner tonight? He thought he was hanging sliders, and he was throwing these hellacious sliders up there. But, yeah, you need that. Yeah, I mean, bullpen guys, relievers, they sit in the bullpen, and they have a different mentality. They talk differently about things in the game. So, yeah, you need to have that bond with your relievers. It's very important. It's more important for a manager to have that bond with his relievers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we take a break on Nissan Postgame Live. When we come back, you'll get a preview of what is ahead on Geico Sports Night. Maz and I return here to the SNY studios at Rockefeller Center West after this. You will hear more from the Mets after Nissan Postgame Live on Geico Sports Night. Chris Cotter is intimately involved with that show, and he has a preview of what's coming up tonight. What's happening there?
Oh, very much so. Me and Brian Custer are going to have a lot of fun and a whole lot to do immediately following Nissan Postgame Live. The Bombers, and they've got the day off after dropping 2 out of 3 to the Giants. We'll look back at what was a rough weekend by the Bay for sure. And Knicks forward David Lee having fun with the kids today. But he talked a little hoops as well. He tells us his wish list and the Knicks draft needs for the offseason. We'll have all this and more when B-Cuss joins me for Geico Sports Night. Now back to Matt and Maz and Nissan Postgame Live.
The sarcasm bleeds through with the Nissan play of the game. Bottom of 11th, score tied at 1, no more. Shawn Green launches one against Russ Springer. His 7th home run of the year, a 2-1 Mets win. The Mets are 3-3 in extra innings this season. That is your Nissan play of the game. The upcoming schedule reveals 3 more against the Cardinals. All of them are on SNY. Then the Phillies for 4 in Philadelphia. A day-night doubleheader on Friday and a couple of games over the weekend as well. The Mets have a chance this week to maybe create a little separation between themselves and the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, Paul Lo Duca earlier today suspended by the league for 2 games for this tirade on Saturday evening. Lo Duca says he will appeal. That's why he played tonight. When the appeal will be heard, we do not know. MLB earlier this evening said they did not have that date determined. But what is the goal here for Lo Duca, Mass?
Well, Matt, I think his goal is obviously to reduce it down to 1 game somewhere. And, like you said, it depends where MLB is going to have this hearing. When is it going to be next week, 2 weeks from now? They don't know yet. So I think the goal is to get down in 1 game, and hopefully it's going to be relatively quick.
Yeah, if they get it down to 1 game, perhaps it doesn't mean a roster shuffle while they try to find a backup catcher.
You're just going to have to play 1 short. That's it.
We'll know more about that as when we know it, you'll know it. And nothing yet on a date for that. All right, the probables for Game 2. Oliver Perez, Todd Wellmeyer tomorrow. Oliver Perez shooting for 8 and 6. We will have the pregame show here for you at 6:30 p.m. on SNY. We follow Geico Sports Night, then the pregame, the game, and then Nissan Postgame Live. That's what we do. Thanks a lot for watching. Geico Sports Night is next with more Mets reaction. I'm Matt Yalla.
I'm Lee Mazzilli. Good night, New York.